Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, the music is so nice. How is everybody today? Once again, baby, thank you for the 30 stream streak. That's. Do you all have nothing better to do than watch me? No, I'm really happy. It's just hard to wrap my head around, honestly. Yep, and there goes the head. Meow. Thank you for the cat ears. So yeah, today, originally I just put in for today whatever I want, and some of you probably are aware, there was a growing group in my chat that wanted to watch the Garfield video. Which is quite fitting with the cat ears. I have also prepared a couple of other videos. The Garfield video itself goes like an hour and 20 minutes about, so it's quite a long video. And depending on like how we're feeling afterwards, we might be watching a couple of the other videos. Heads up, I will probably mention this before we actually start with the video watching as well. I've already seen the Garfield videos a couple of times actually, because it's like one of those videos I go back to every couple of months, and it's still fascinating to me. And I will probably separately record it as well. So because I'm planning, or like I'm thinking about like uploading it as a react video on YouTube. We'll see. I kind of want to do, like, I always had the thought of like doing some react videos every now and then. I'm not very consistent with it though. I will behave, I promise. I love more than I should probably. During the videos watching part itself, I will probably, just in case, deactivate all the like sound-based redeems. So like stuff like the cat ears, the sheep horns, or like the removing the head and stuff like this still will be active. But I don't like want to interrupt the video with stuff like this. Not that I think that any of you would actually do this on purpose, but you know, just in case, because I know there are a couple of people who like to throw books in my face as a greeting. No honks during the videos, at least during the videos. Right now they're still active. So get all your honking needs out before we start the videos today. Perfect. Honestly, that the honk redeem is such a random thing. Like, I think it was before my sad honk. It was before my debut, I think, my 2.0 debut. That I was like, okay, like, I wanna have a few more redeems. But I was looking at a few things. Is also like when the hydrate one came to be with like get in the water. And I was randomly scrolling through YouTube, I think, and then I saw the Untitled Goose Game again. And I was like, let's add a honk. Because why not? In fact, wait, let me. I also realized something. And now I remembered it. I think I can do this too. Thank you. Can I can spam the honks. Although that GIF kind of glitches out if I do that. All the honks. I can do all the honks. Ow, 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 ow. It's a panda. Honk, honk, honk. Hello, panda. Welcome in. How you doing, my friend? Thanks for the books. I missed getting concussed by you. How is everything, my friend? Then it's scarf time. It's scarf time. I'm on a wobble board right now being shaken like what? A what? What's a wobble board? Is a wobble board like a common like British invention that I never heard of? Hello, Johnny. I'll send you the pic, Lux. Oh my. Oh my. I'm getting pictures from Panda. Oh my. A wobble board. I'm just imagining Panda sitting on like a surfboard which rests on like a couple of like, I don't know, soccer balls or whatever. It just like bounces around. Oh, there it is. Oh my god, Panda's feet. Oh my. Oh my. Okay, feet picture. Sorry, I can't help it. Okay. I should laugh so much about it. Okay, but it's like one of those like foot massage thingies. Okay. I'm in a giggling mood today. I don't know if you guys noticed. So yeah. Like what I wanted to actually say. Yeah, as said, we're gonna watch a couple of videos today. Hey, now vibrates your body. 24, thank you for the 5 stream streak. Welcome in. Thank you, thank you. Panda is being shaken like a mad panda, not like a madman, because as we all know, he's panda. But yeah. Oh, which reminds me, should I? Just considering something. Do you guys wanna hear? Do you guys wanna hear a little secret? A little teeny tiny secret? It makes you itchy. What? I thought it's a volleyball, not an itchy board. Should I reveal this little secret? I could give you all a little teaser. There may be eventually in like 2-ish months. It's a little bit away, but in about 2 months, so it should probably be around June. We might have a little special event planned for the channel. It's not a big one. It's not like big like the debut. But there will be a little. It's more something akin to like a mini debut kind of level of things. We already did karaoke once. I wouldn't announce it like that. And especially if it's just karaoke, I wouldn't wait 2 months for it. I didn't see it. Yeah, I think this was before you were like part of the community. So I think it was my 200 or 250 follower special thingy what I did. But obviously I could not upload the VOD because copyright issues. So it's I do still have the VOD myself with like all the copyright things, but I can never publish it. Otherwise I would probably get copyright strike to the ground. And or I need to like silence half the video, which is kind of pointless for a karaoke thing. It's unfortunate. And ladies and gentlemen, the panda has finished his wobbling. Wobbling completed. I guess we could start with the videos. When your headphones arrive too. Ooh, heck yeah. Ooh, but also like it sounds so uninteresting. But what I got also a package recently, and I got new pillows for my bed, which is really nice because I actually started sleeping better by now. I can pirate up windrows without buzzing. Oh, my head is back. Quality sleep time, yes. Got new pillows 2 days ago. It's so nice sleeping on them. It's really nice. Sleepy is Lux. Yeah, Panda, we also have to play Windrose at one point. I got the game too today after all. It looks really cool, like I watched a trailer for it. It looks really cool. It's like, it reminds me a bit, like it is a more in-depth Sea of Thieves. Which I'm all here for, because I really like Sea of Thieves. But like the gameplay loop in Sea of Thieves gets a bit boring after a while. I think this... I got all week off next week, just set it up. I mean, you can write... Maybe next week, Friday? Or next week, Friday. It could work. Friday or Thursday, I leave it up to you. Just write me on Discord what's suits best for you. Can do that. 24-hour karaoke. Oh no. I mean, I don't think a 24-hour karaoke stream would even be possible. No. Like my karaoke stream was like what, 1.5 or 2 hours, and my throat was sore from this. It was absolutely insane. How am I going to get my points? More mics. Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, it will be there. At the end, you just gotta sound like, which is inevitably how I usually sound when I'm sick. No, I'm kidding. I wish I could sing better. Like, I often like to sing to myself and everything. And like, for those who watch my streams more regularly, you probably caught me like singing small excerpts of certain things sometimes. So I'm nowhere near as good as Audrey, but I mean, Audrey is like part siren after all, so what you expect. I sound like my normal self. No. Okay, I guess ready for like video watching. Let me quickly deactivate all the sound thingies. Me and Otto keep saying we'll do a song together, but we always get too busy. Oh, I would absolutely watch that. I would absolutely watch it. Your best behavior starter. You sound like I'm like... Just be like you always are. Not like you're misbehaving, baby. I'm very thankful to have a very nice people in my chat always, after all. And we good Lux will shout at us. As you know, man, like I'm always screaming at my chat. Constantly, like yelling from the top of my lungs. I'm also always angry, as you guys know. Exactly. That's basically me. I mean, that was basically me yesterday when I was playing, like, I was playing Zelda and like trying to get the controls up and my head's up and down and up and down. Going to do an Xmas song, Xmas. And Kelly and 2, maybe this year. I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it. The Scuff of Legends Christmas album. Yeah, I'll do the outtake part. Okay, so, but let me actually. Wait, how am I doing this easiest? So, like this. Get the boys in for big X's, all the lads. All the lads. So. Yep. I just realized I have the window a bit weird. Now it's gonna bug me otherwise. Now it's better. Lads on tour. It reminds me a bit of the Valheim. What did we name it? The Viking Hot Tub Podcast. Oh, that was. Oh, I kind of missed it. I missed Valheim. It was so funny. So, but okay. So heads up for everybody. I will be like there will be a recording of it, the separate one, which I probably will upload at one point as a react. Maybe if I'm happy with the result, which is not necessarily given. So yeah, just a little heads up. Although, I mean, technically all my VODs eventually go up on YouTube if I could bother to like actually publish them at one point. I still need to make all the thumbnails. Ugh. I keep putting it off. I have like 3.5 months worth of VODs to release at this point. For those who have not subscribed to my YouTube, it's down below in the cards. Okay. So, let me start the recording. And let's start with the video. We're watching What the Internet Did to Garfield, one of my absolute favorites. It's one of the silliest videos in a way. Actually, let me do this on the other monitor. No, we can do it afterwards. I'm gonna post a link afterwards for y'all. But yeah, What the Internet did to Garfield. Let's go. I've already seen the video, but you know, it's great.
Garfield is a daily newspaper comic strip starring the iconic orange cat of the same name, as well as his owner, John Arbuckle. Relatable, surly, and adorable, Garfield was based off the childhood memories of his creator, Jim Davis. And in 40 years since we first met this lasagna-loving rascal, Garfield has become a global phenomenon, with yearly merchandising sales at an estimated...
Okay, wait. Yeah, a disturbance thing. I'm gonna comment on something here. Like, you know, all the disturbance thingy and everything, it's quite horrifying. Yes? We agree on that? Sure, fine. But this... Imagine you're being invited to someone and he's like, oh, I'm gonna show you my collection. Like, I'm a bit of a quirky collector. And you're like, oh, yeah, like, probably gonna collect Funko Pops or like, you know, some normal level of collection. And then you open the door and see this. I mean, we don't judge, you know, to each their own, but I will be shocked. I will be shocked. Like, I will absolutely be speechless by the amount of orange staring back at me. You're kink-shaming them. Listen here, it's not kink-shaming. It is, I mean, like, they're glowing, frankly. Like, they're in heaven. Absolutely. You barely even see them because there's so much Garfield around them. It's also kind of concerning how much Garfield merch there is. I think this is also part of the video later down the line. Some like slot machine, like gambling machines here. Everything is Garfield.
made it.
The world is going to end.
I've been covering fandoms for a little while now, and what I enjoy about doing this is how when you stare at a fandom long enough, you begin to get this very distorted yet very honest reflection of its source material.
Sonic.
The heart of The Simpsons, the descent of Sonic, the magnitude of Undertale. But then there's Garfield. Believe me when I say, what Garfield has become on the internet is the most bizarre fandom I've ever encountered. And I'm not even talking about Garfield porn here, although yes, there is totally that as well. And yes, I did have to fuck up my Google Analytics to find these. No, I'm talking about things far more bizarre, which if you are not aware of, allow me to give you a little preview.
I don't know why, but for some reason, this picture is just so deeply hilarious to me. I mean, it's so dramatic, it's so cursed with the hands, but just the cat. Just the cat stare here.
/Alzheimer's Group is a subreddit of 50,000 people reposting the same Garfield comic over and over and over, each member role-playing like this is the first time they've seen it. Relax John is an 8-part animated series in which a morbidly depressed John Arbuckle is dragged into a frightening alternate reality as he is subsumed by a demonic Garfield. I'm sorry, John. Actually, Jesus, no, we're not ready for I'm sorry, John.
This is honestly one of the videos I wish I could just completely forget it and then rewatch it again for the first time. It's Garfield is one of the most insane fandoms you have ever seen, or you have never seen, because it just completely flies under the radar.
But maybe in like an hour. And maybe you've noticed the runtime for this video and are asking, how could I possibly spend this much time on an idea that the subtle lowering of my father's eyebrows as I explained it to him communicated to me was something he considered a profound waste of time.
I'm disappointed, son.
Oh god, I was meant to make a video about Berserk this year.
Never watched Berserk or Reddit.
I got lost. Lost in Garfield. God, I hope it's worth it. But the answer is I have looked deep into Garfield and I have seen things horrible, frightening, and beautiful, including what is to me, and I'm serious here, the greatest piece of fan art ever created. And I would like to show it all to you. So join me on this long and strange journey as we take our first step and ask a question.
The pictures.
How the fuck did we get here from a cartoon cat who likes lasagna?
It's a very fair point, although lasagna is delicious.
What is Garfield? So, I want to be honest here.
Oh god, I forgot this costume.
Unlike the other fandoms I've covered for this channel, I've never really been that into Garfield. That's not to say I dislike Garfield, it's just no, I'm not doing this. I do not need to humiliate myself for your amusement. That's not to say
yes, you do. That's what I'm doing
Garfield, too. Just that I was never really into him as a kid, and that hadn't changed up until this video. And so my first call was to go looking for articles on the appeal of Garfield. But what I found was kind of the opposite. Multiple headlines and videos about how Garfield is not funny and even was never meant to be. How Jim Davis is a marketing man first and the comic was just intended as a vessel to sell merchandise.
Did any of you guys ever read
Garfield? And after reading a lot of Garfield,
for me, I never really read Garfield.
I read a lot of Garfield. I actually disagree. I think this is a fairly cynical mischaracterization of Jim Davis and can be traced back to a single quote he gave 40 years ago and is not really reflective of the dude of whom I have watched and read many, many interviews, who is the kind of person who still talks about wanting to make the whole world laugh with a single joke. But if I'm right about this, then why do so many people find Garfield unfunny? And that being the case, how has it survived for 40 years? I'm about to be very generous with my interpretation of Garfield, but I think it's important to do that because we need to understand the appeal here. And while I am not going to defend the comedy in Garfield, as we shall see later, I find 0.104% of Garfield comics funny. I do think, however, it's worth looking at the reasons why Garfield's humor gets such a polarizing reaction.
The old Garfield.
Jim Davis's previous comic before Garfield was Norm the Gnat, which ended in 1975. He then spent 3 years doing, well, nothing before beginning Garfield in 1978. And to give that date a little context, that is not this decade, or the one before that, 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 but the one before that. Barring the old gods of media like Mickey Mouse and Peanuts, Garfield has been around longer than practically any relevant character in pop culture today. And you can imagine this lazy, rude, anti-authority cat being a little more outrageous in the late 70s than he is today. In the same way the Simpsons and Sonic the Hedgehog would have seemed wild and countercultural in their day before it's slowly becoming mainstream, that's exactly what happened to Garfield. We are just not old enough to remember it. And Jim Davis has even talked about this in interviews. That said, I don't think the appeal of Garfield is its humor. I think it's Garfield. And what I mean by this is that we all want to be Garfield. Please don't click off the video, I promise I have a point to make here. Think of everything you consider imperfect about yourself. Physical, mental, emotional, whatever. Any perceived flaw that makes you feel shame. Now, imagine an alternate version of yourself where those flaws still existed,
this is kind of
but you
upsetting
just
to watch.
accepted them.
So
You're in perfect harmony with who and what you are, and that's it. And well, that's Garfield. Garfield is lazy, he's gluttonous, he's selfish, and people constantly make fun of him for being fat. But he doesn't give a shit. He is perfectly content in who and what he is, and any of his perceived flaws are other people's problems, not his. And
this is honestly very aspirational to like be like that. You know, I don't care about what the others think. I'm content the way I am. It's that everybody else's problem. I wish I could be more like that sometimes. There's a need to draw Garfield now. Lol. Yeah, all Garfield. We're all Garfield here. Welcome in, Hylian.
Any of his perceived flaws are other people's problems, not his. And that is some seriously aspirational levels of confidence. But the real genius of the character is he also has all these little traits that allow us to see ourselves in him. Garfield hates Mondays, he likes coffee, he loves lasagna, he dislikes spiders, loves to sleep, and resents authority. These are all very general, but what that means is that no matter who you are, there's probably something in Garfield you're going to be able to relate to. And that relatability, combined with his more aspirational quality, creates this simple but massively appealing cocktail of a character. And I think it's the strength of that appeal that's let Garfield survive for 40 years. And I just want to note here that for as messed up as things are going to get this video, there is a lot of really cool and wholesome Garfield fan art from people who just earnestly.
I mean, he says wholesome. This is a bit. This picture particularly is a little bit weird. Is this like an actual cat inside a Garfield costume? That looks so happy, honestly. My actual bedroom. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, we just LuxTaleor.
Enjoy Garfield's
Quick, we
comic
need to
and
go.
his world. One standout being the fan comic John, which tells the story of an older John Arbuckle rediscovering his love of art and cartooning, and it's just this super cute and endearing take on these characters. Now, granted, you don't have to spend that long looking for Garfield fan art on the internet before things start to get strange,
messed up,
like
John.
Garfamon, a blog in which one intrepid Garfield artist has been redrawing
God, this
the
is so good. Look at this. Look at this. What's the English name for it in German? It's Magnian. It's, oh God. Thanks. What? Okay, wait. Why has the Blaziken one face on the
entirety of Pokemon as
oh, the arms? I never looked at them.
Garfield, and I don't know how many there are because my
Sorry, it's just so fun watching
my
those.
browser crashes before I hit Gen 1. But what I think's really interesting about Garfamon is it shows how iconic and malleable Garfield's visual design is. Meaning Garfield's visual design is recognizable enough to be twisted into basically anything and still read as Garfield.
Okay. Everybody has, of course, their own taste. I get that. But damn, that's an ugly couch. I'm sorry for anybody who actually likes it, but that's an ugly couch. I cannot. I'm sorry. I want that couch. You can have it. I don't want it.
This will become horrifyingly relevant later. But it's not just Garfield's character design that applies to, but also the comic itself. Garfield's comic was a big part of his spread, designed to be as simple, timeless, and consumable as possible. Each one is entirely self-contained and rarely, if ever, touches off current events. And since even the early days of the internet and social media, people have been taking these comics and changing them. Something that's possible because of how simple a formula they work off,
Why not turn
with
the
each comic
perfectly
following
good
the
day?
same 3-panel structure. The first panel establishes the scenario. It is the morning and John and Garfield have just woken up. The second panel is the setup. Garfield is in an unusually good mood. And the third panel, the punchline. Garfield is in a good mood because he
Oh my
drinks
God.
too much coffee.
Oh
With the
no,
exception of the
Phoebe.
longer Sunday comics, this is how Garfield works. And just like the character himself, that simplicity was critical in letting as wide an audience as possible understand and enjoy Garfield. But it's also that simplicity that made the comic so infinitely memeable. It is shockingly easy to make your own Garfield comic from splicing together different establishment, setup, and punchline panels. And you can even try this yourself with the random Garfield comic generators. And it's that
is so funny to me.
malleability that's led to scores of popular online trends, such as replacing the last panel of a Garfield comic with an image of Garfield smoking
Do you think everyone has a purpose? Absolutely. Garfield.
a pipe, and an unusual amount of these still work.
Mom, son, Garfield. Dieting is easy when you set your mind to it. No, I no longer crave food. Garfield. Life is like a poker game. If you don't win, Garfield.
But my personal favorite is the
My
same,
God.
except the final panel now being Garfield being flung from a window.
Can I get you anything for breakfast, Garfield? Yeah, how about a big glass of freshly squeezed kitten juice? Thrown out the window. Eat the cookie and you die. Heard the warning. I sometimes make poor decisions.
However, in time, people also got much weirder than that. For example,
I have such a
Silent
dream.
Movie Garfield. Garfield with one extra beat panel. Garfish. Garfield with pixel art from that one really bad Garfield game that never released outside Japan. Garfield, but the drawing keeps getting lazier. Multiple choice Garfield. Garfield, except all the comics from 1978 are color averaged together.
What?
Real life Garfield. Uncomfortably close Garfield. Garfield devolves into noise. Two Garfields. Polarized Garfields, you get the idea. So Garfield is this iconic, appealing character communicated through this simple but infinitely consumable and recreatable medium. And I think this does go a way in helping us understand the existence of something like r/Alzheimer's group. While there is something undeniably cruel about this subreddit, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think there wasn't something interesting and even a little poetic here. The idea that someone's final tether to their own reality is something as simple but recognizable as a Garfield comic strip, and the tragedy of when even that too starts to fade. However, this still doesn't take us any closer to understanding why Garfield on the internet is so... you know. And I think a real easy answer here is it's just the absurdity of making such depraved art out of something so simple and everyday. But as you may be able to tell from the remaining runtime on this video, I disagree. I think there's genuinely something darker and stranger at play here, and I'm not even talking about the official Garfield's very occasional descent into something weirder. I'm talking about a darkness that lies at the heart of every Garfield comic strip. And to start to unravel what that is, I want to talk about the 28th of January 2008, when 27 very strange Garfield-themed videos all simultaneously appeared on a previously unknown YouTube channel. The kind of incredible thing about Lasagna Cat now is how weirdly ahead of its time it was. This was 2008 and the term meme was still years away from becoming something people actually said.
Back in the time when nobody knew what a meme is. I mean, the word meme existed before that already, I think. I think it's like a meme is also, I think, like an icon or something. I think it was mostly used religiously though, but I mean, today's meme culture could also be defined as religiously sometimes.
And yeah, Lasagna Cat made memes of Garfield comics, but then became memes of themselves before you had even finished watching the video. And what I mean by this is that each video of Lasagna Cat is broken into 3 sections. The first is a live-action recreation of a Garfield comic. The second, the actual comic on which the first section was based. And the third, and by far strangest section, would take the footage of section 1 and change it. So this Yeehaw! Would become this. Yeehaw! Music video parodies, video game references, 2008 internet humor. Lasagna Cat was taking Garfield comics and contorting them into all kinds of strange things, but tantalizingly, underneath the sheer wackiness of it all, there was what felt like a very subtle disdain towards Garfield. There was something a little grotesque and uncanny about these shrunken actors with their sagging costumes and...
A little uncanny? A little?
Human hands, each skit ending with the same canned droning laughter that nearly highlighted the mundanity of these jokes.
Garfield, this is a diagram of the food chain. You're here, and that's a mouse down there. Any questions?
Where's pizza?
But the strangest part was how each video ended on a bizarre tribute to Jim Davis. This is one of the first really unusual things I noticed about the Garfield fandom. It has this kind of feverish obsession with Garfield's creator, Jim Davis. And I say unusual because in every other fandom I've covered, I don't know if I remember a single instance of the creator of those properties ever appearing in fan works, but Garfield is different. Over
Maybe because
and
it's a
over,
comic.
Davis kept materializing in fan works, often in very strange ways, and to the best of my knowledge,
Smite the
Lasagna
non-believers.
Cat was the first instance of this happening.
I mean, one explanation could be because like Garfield is like mainly known for the comic strips, or like this is like how the whole fandom happened to be, and everything else is basically like merged and like branching out from it. But the comic strips, I think, still going until today. And in every comic strip, there's always like Jim Davis, like his signature is always there as far as I know. So maybe that's why, because like the name is always there.
So
And kind of
why?
like subconsciously.
Well, if that was a question you asked in 2008, you'd be waiting a long time for an answer. After the initial upload day of Lasagna Cat, the channel would go silent. Days would become weeks, weeks would become months, and months would become years. And without a single update, Lasagna Cat began to fade into internet obscurity. Which is why it was such a shock when a full 9 years later, a new video appeared on the Lasagna Cat channel, ending
About the same time I take to release my thoughts on my YouTube. Sorry.
with the text, Telephone Sex Survey, February 9th, 2017. This was the beginning of a strange rabbit hole of videos that led 2 weeks later to a bizarrely high production trailer that claimed if you called a toll-free number and left your name and the number of sexual partners you'd had, a Garfield web series would return. 2 weeks later, and boom. Just like they had 9 years ago, 11 new videos were simultaneously uploaded to Lasagna Cat. And while they were similar in format to the old videos, they were also so different. The first of the new videos begins as any typical Lasagna Cat would, parodying an old comic where Garfield steals
People are
John's
so
pipe.
bad for
But what's
Garfield,
waiting for
apparently.
us at the end of the video
there's Pipe
isn't a
Garfield again.
re-splicing of the footage from section 1 that we're used to, but a man claiming that this simple Garfield comic transformed his entire existence as he obsessively analyzes every tiny part of the comic in excruciating detail, his examination gradually expanding outward to the immortal nature of art and mimetic culture and its ability to transcend humanity and even the laws of space and time. And this goes on for an entire hour, and it might just be the best video on the internet. And somehow,
And then, I mean, if the internet can do one thing good, then it's shit posting. Let's face it. Although I do wonder, like, the people behind, like a channel like Lasagna Cat, like, who are they? Like, how do they come up with it? Like, this kind of fascinates me in of itself.
this was just the beginning. Whereas the
Oh, it's Callie.
original end of video skits had that charming
Sorry.
amateur with a green screen feel, what waited for us in the third act of these videos now were shockingly high production short films that transformed simple Garfield comics into these elaborate, surreal stories. Jokes about Odie getting a bag stuck on his head morphed into these strange tales of the bag-headed Odie becoming a fashion icon before taking his own life and being condemned by Garfield to a hell filled with demonic John Arbuckle chimeras. Gags where John uses the wrong shampoo would now be mutated into, well, this is what they would turn into, and I don't want to describe
It's
this.
shampoo.
Those
It's
simple
shampoo, guys.
Garfield jokes
It's
were now being
shampoo.
contorted to the bizarrest of extremes, contrasting the arguable mundanity of the original with this just wild insanity. And even more pronounced this time was that subtle malice towards Garfield, each video still ending on those bizarre tributes to Jim Davis. But it's only in the final video ever uploaded to the channel that Lasagna Cat would reveal what it truly was. And that video was called Sex survey results.
Oh god, I remember this part of the
Sex
video.
survey
I remember this part. Hello, Dane. Welcome to Garfield time.
results begins with John Arbuckle entering his living room and sitting down to read the paper, but he hears a knock on his door and... Who's there? To which he answers
Wait.
his door.
Telephone scam charged with gross privacy violation. That's probably like something they got like when they did like this this telephone survey. This is probably something they had to hear about.
And who's there? To which he answers, revealing a strange white mannequin. The mannequin giving its name and number of sexual partners.
Hey, my name's Garrett Smith, and I have had exactly 0 sex partners.
Before the scene freeze frames and pulls out to reveal a near identical scene, and we begin again, but now with Garfield instead of John. The same events play out, only with a new piece of audio detailing someone else's name and number of sexual partners, and we cycle again, but now with Odie.
I think this
And
is
then
actually the
again,
point a bit,
back to
BB.
John, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and this continues for nearly 5 hours, all of which I have watched.
5 hours of this. Can you imagine just 5 hours of people just saying their name and how many sex partners they had?
Most of which I did live on stream. Watching sex survey results in its entirety is exhausting, an exercise in mind-numbing repetition. But I think there's something kind of important in that experience. You're listening to all these different recordings of people communicating what is, to many, a pretty sensitive piece of information, and it's weird and even a little uncomfortable. But soon, you just go numb to it. After an hour...
But I'm gonna watch all 5 hours to see if the colors of the people are wearing means anything. Oh god, Alien!
It stops feeling weird, and after hours, it stops feeling like anything, because anything repeated enough times loses all meaning. Not unlike a comic strip running day after day after day after day after day for 40 years. And it's at that point, when that feeling is at its strongest and you are completely numb to whatever is happening, that Lasagna Cat hits you with what has to be one of the most infamous and shocking pieces of footage that is allowed to exist on YouTube. At this point, the scene has descended into night. The mannequins have begun to take strange and grotesque shapes, and John answers the door one final time, only to be faced with...
John Arbuckle, 2. John Arbuckle, 0.
Oh.
And immediately, this second John ages about 30 years. This new, older John Arbuckle now wandering the streets alone, frightened and confused. He finds a dried out husk of a cat, which teleports him to a massive ravine, where he encounters a strange naked shaman who attacks him before teleporting behind him and whispering silent words in his ear, before John collapses into a pile of worms and dirt. The shaman roars, and we hard cut to a young girl screaming in the bathroom of a public school. We're given extreme close-ups of her birthing a stillborn child, and she steps back and stares down in horror before saying something in Polish.
To dziecko nie jest moje. To dziecko jest coś z ciemności. Ja porodziłam ludzkie przekleństwo.
She leaves, and we get one final shot of the child, but now a ginger cat is perched beside it. We cut, the cat is now gone, and the baby opens its eyes before the screen is filled with a block of bright orange.
Well, with that, welcome everybody who might have joined the Can you imagine anybody joining the stream right now? And I'm like, we are Garfield. I'm so glad he censored all of this. And yeah, like I never watched this video myself that he was referring to, but the fact that like he had to so heavily censor it, oof, it probably goes. He was so, yeah, like I was just, I mean, I already know this, but still so flabbergasted. It is like, so, oh god, it always gets me. Always gets me.
Well, that was a nightmare.
Oh wait, what I was trying to say is like, probably like they got away with it putting this on YouTube because they like claimed some like cultural or artistic stuff or something. I don't know.
But I actually think that Lasagna Cat has something really interesting to say. But to get there, we're gonna have to do a little legwork. Earlier in this video, we asked, what is Garfield?
A cat.
Now, I would like to ask, what is Garfield? Considering I'd had little history with Garfield, I knew to answer this, I would need to immerse myself in him, to understand the comic on an intimate level.
Become Garfield.
I committed to reading 400 Garfield comics, but not just that, I wished to study them. And so I didn't just read Garfield, I collected data on Garfield. I noted every observation I had in a large Google spreadsheet. And through this, I established that Garfield was made up of roughly 11 different kinds of jokes, such as humor derived from the fact that Garfield is lazy/gluttonous, absurdist humor, relatable humor, other humor, which were either recurring jokes too sporadic for their own category, but mainly jokes about Garfield doing things a cat would do, the joke being that he's a cat, or jokes about Garfield doing things a cat would not do, the joke being he's a cat. These are my least favorite kind of Garfield joke. I measured for a variety of other variables, such as the amount of fourth wall breaks, which was 4, or instances of Garfield becoming suicidal, which was 2, or how many times the comic made me laugh, which was precisely once, and it was this one. After many...
Wait, which one? Which one made you laugh? Tip alert, you can't believe Odie, no matter what he says. I did not paint him green. And it wasn't with the 2-inch horsehair brush. Here comes the liar now. Well, aren't you going to punish him? Okay. Okay, we have an ad break now. So, we're gonna pause during the ad break. You can like, okay. Just note something on the other screen real quick. How are you liking the video so far? Is it fun, you guys? It is really insane. We haven't even gotten to the I'm sorry John part and Gorefield and whatnot. It's but like the whole thing with the video they were mentioning about like can't believe you read them all. Oh no, he read what did he say, 500 of them or 400? Not all of them. I think 400 would be a year, like a bit more than a year's worth. Isn't like one Garfield is released every day? You have 365 days. That's only 1 year's worth. Garfield is 45 years old. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I could never. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I really like reading, but that's. I don't think I could do it. I could maybe do 50 until I get bored. I mean, kudos to this guy for being able to pull this off. Kudos to him. On the next stream, we have Hylian as a guest, and she will read like the excerpts of like 600 different Garfield comics. Telltale reading, no way, lol. Wait, what, Levo? Yeah. I mean, didn't you see this when you became a mod? It's like part of the contract. You gotta read Garfield comics on stream for me. I'll do it when the PC. Okay, you all saw it. We have it live on camera here. I didn't agree to read Garfield comics when our PC is fixed on stream. Fix the PCs. BB needs her Garfield fix. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, it's over. Welcome back from that jail, everybody.
After many hours of collecting Garfield data, I sought to answer a single question that would surely help me understand Garfield and by extension, Lasagna Cat. What was the most common type of joke in Garfield? And when I tabulated the results, what I saw shook me. What was I looking at? This couldn't be possible. And I grew concerned. The 400 comics I had pulled from were a combination of every comic on the Twitter account Random Garfield, which algorithmically pulls 3 random Garfield comics every day, as well as this YouTube video ranking the top 100 Garfield comics. Perhaps this video was a mistake, its author's biases tainting my study, so I proceeded to read
Sexist.
200 more Garfield comics, chosen completely at random from Garfield's web archive. I tallied the numbers again and no, impossible. This time the results were even more pronounced. Was I subconsciously selecting Garfield comics to affirm my own biases? I couldn't allow this. And so I committed to reading an entire year of Garfield, each month being selected from 3 and 4 year intervals across Garfield's 4 decades, bringing my total number of read Garfield comics to 956. But then I was struck with an idea. What if I committed to reading every Garfield comic in existence? Then my data would be pure, complete, and indisputable. This is when I encountered a problem. When I sought out the estimated total number of Garfield comics in existence, that number was 14,000!
Can you imagine reading 14,000?
But how was there that many? This video was already taking far too long, and at this point, I'd already spent several days reading Garfield comics, and yet somehow I had only consumed 6.83% of all Garfields. For not the last time this video, the very concept of Garfield began to feel gargantuan and impossible, entirely beyond the grasp of my feeble mortal consciousness. I decided that reading 14,000 Garfield comics was not a realistic goal.
Sorry.
I know some of you will consider this a failure. I am sorry. I read up on sample sizes and learn that my current yield of Garfield comics will leave me with a margin of error of about 1.5%.
I mean, even the fact that he read up on like sample sizes and everything, like calculating this is insane.
And this is widely considered acceptable. I sigh and proceed forward. I tally the final numbers and rank each strain of Garfield joke from 11 to 1. The
I wonder how long
results
this actually took.
frighten me. I am now going to share this specific breakdown with you because I need you to see what I see. Before we begin, I want you to ask yourself a question. What do you think is the most common type of joke in Garfield? And I want you to hold on to that guess as we proceed down the list.
I don't remember the result, so like at all. So I'm gonna say like just Garfield being like doesn't care, like hates on things like Mondays and like just being lazy.
Number 11, we have jokes centered around Irma, the local cafe owner, and how she's bad at running her business. These jokes make up just 0.42% of Garfield. Just above that, at number 10, with 0.5%, were jokes based around Garfield's girlfriend Arlene. At number 9, with 1%, was humor derived from how much Garfield hates Nermal. At number 8, with 2.3%, is comedy conveying Garfield's hatred of spiders. At number 7, with 4.5%, was relatable humor. This was the first major surprise to me. I had assumed that a cat whose entire branding was built on one simple, relatable quote would have more relatable humor in its comic. I was wrong, and it wouldn't be
I feel
the
very
last time.
relatable to
At number
Garfield,
6,
my
at
cat is.
4.7%, was whimsy derived from Garfield's abuse of Odie. At number 5, with 13.7%,
Oh,
was
good shot.
mildly surreal and absurdist humor. At number 4, with 16.8%, are jokes based on Garfield being lazy or gluttonous. And
Oh,
again,
yeah, okay.
for obvious reasons, I was shocked not to see this further up the list. At number 3,
Whimsy.
with 17.4%, is other. These are the kinds of jokes I do not like. And at number 2, with 18.8%, is a mystery category that I will reveal much later in the video for dramatic effect. Now, before I unveil number 1, I want to stop and ask you again, what do you think is the most common type of joke in Garfield? At number 1, and by far the biggest shock on the list, was a category I never even would have guessed existed. And it's called John is Pathetic. John Arbuckle is 30 years old. He lives alone, has no real friends outside his dog and cat, and is constantly lonely. And these are
John.
all things that the Garfield comic takes joy in ridiculing. A typical John is Pathetic gag works like this. John says he's not going to call women for dates anymore, that he's going to wait for them to approach him. We see him waiting, and then we see him waiting what appears to be several months later. Jokes like this are very common, not just in how women find John actively repulsive, but in how he is pathetic and should be ridiculed. And you can see this
poor
in how the
John.
comic portrays his intelligence, his hobbies, his fashion sense, to even his physical strength and inadequacy in anything that could be considered remotely masculine. Across nearly 1,000 comics, I measured 0 cases of John showing any admirable qualities. Meaning, whereas Garfield is something to be aspired to, John is something to be laughed at. Even when John did find a girlfriend in Liz 28 years into Garfield's run, and only after fans begged Jim Davis to end John's loneliness, he's still treated as this pathetic character. And I think there's something kind of sad about that. A person whose only purpose is to be ridiculed and to be trapped in that existence
That is sad.
for 40 years. And where this gets even sadder is when you start to consider the comic from John's perspective. Across that same range of comics, I measured 156 instances of John displaying some kind of negative emotion or mental anguish.
Bullied by his cat, I mean, that's just typical cat behavior.
depression,
That's how cats
lethargy.
work.
But if you're a casual reader of the comics, it might never feel like that, as whenever John does begin to sink into despair, Garfield is there to deliver a witty punchline and diffuse the tension. But here is where we start to get into the very strange nature of reality and Garfield. See, as the audience, as the readers of this comic, we can experience Garfield's thoughts through the visual device of thought bubbles. But critically, this is not the case for John. Across every Garfield comic I read, I didn't record a single instance of John ever directly reacting to Garfield's thoughts in a way that couldn't be explained by him intuiting Garfield's body language and expression. And that information is critical because it means the reality we are experiencing and the one John is experiencing are entirely different. And this brings us to a question. What is it really like being John Arbuckle? On the 13th of February 2008, a Garfield fan comic was uploaded to Tumblr, and it looked just like a regular Garfield comic, but with one critical difference. The first panel depicted John sitting alone with the dialogue, "I've done things in my life that I regret." The second panel shows nothing, just John, his remorseful silence unbroken. The final panel of the comic punctuated by nothing, just a slight shift in John's expression, like his regrets are washing over him. What this was just a regular Garfield strip with one key difference. Garfield had been removed, and because of the very specific way John and Garfield communicate, the comic still works. But whereas before Garfield's punchlines could distract us from John's misery, that's no longer the case. And this was the beginning of the bizarre and morbid webcomic Garfield minus Garfield, which lets us experience the true crushing reality of John. And some of these comics are really haunting. There's one in particular that is either very hopeful or very devastating, depending on your perspective, where John says, "We can't do anything about the past, but we can do something about the future," before he just disappears.
I decided
Garfield minus Garfield was not the first instance of people removing Garfield from the comic to produce this kind of effect, but it was what popularized the idea online that there may be something very wrong with John Arbuckle. And over time, other fan works began to explore this in similar ways. Realistic Garfield, for example, conveyed similar themes by just replacing Garfield with a realistic cat who could not talk, as did fan comics like Arbuckle, while animations like Meat Canyon's Lasagna brought the idea of John's fractured reality even further, depicting John as a frightening, delusional lunatic who holds his terrified victims captive and forces them to play the part of Garfield and Odie, as he warps back and forth between the John Arbuckle we know from the comics and something much, much darker. The reason all these pieces are important is that they show not only that there is something kinda wrong with John Arbuckle, but also that that is something that even in the early days of Garfield's online fandom, people picked up on. But where things get even stranger is when we look at this through the lens of what John Arbuckle was originally meant to be. Remember earlier when I said that Norm Nat ended in 1975, Jim Davis then spent 3 years doing nothing, and Garfield started in 1978?
Remember.
Well, that was a lie, but I framed it this way because for decades, that's what people thought was the truth. Listen to any interview in which Jim Davis speaks about the origins of Garfield, and he'll wheel out the same anecdote about the failure of Norm Nat because insects are not appealing characters, and how that realization led to him looking at dog-centric comics like Peanuts and Marmaduke and saying to himself, what if I can create a similar character but for people who like cats? And thus, Garfield was born. Except this version of events also ignores the existence of Heathcliff, another surly, round, orange cat who predates Garfield by about 5 years, and this isn't relevant at all, but I just think it's funny. However, this telling is a lie, or at least not the full truth. Because you see, in the period between 1975 and 1978, there was a third comic.
Hang on, guys. Wait, something's. One quick moment, everybody. Be right back. So sorry, everybody. Like I think a bunch of kids like pull like a doorbell prank or whatever. I was really weird. Anyway, it's just I don't know what this was supposed to be. It was me, Heidi, and how dare you?
That was only discovered in 2019 by intrepid Garfield historian Quentin Reviews, and this
Garfield
comic
historian.
was simply
That's
titled
that's what I want to be.
John. There are two very strange things about John. The first being how closely it resembles Garfield. Everything from jokes to entire layouts are repeated across the two series, the only difference being that the main character here is John. Davis has spoken a lot about how John Arbuckle is an analogue for him. Both grew up on a farm, both live in Muncie, Indiana, and both are cartoonists. In fact, Davis originally wanted to use the character of John as a way to voice his frustration with the comic strip industry, which, if you look at where Davis was in his life when he first started writing this character, that tracks. John started just 2 weeks after the failure of Norm Nat, and you can feel that frustration in these early comics. In one instance, John even turning to the camera and saying how he thinks the content of this comic will land him in trouble with parents groups. And while Garfield still featured heavily, there were strips where he just didn't appear at all, with scenarios more focused on observational humor derived from the perspective of a single man. But it wasn't long into the run when that started to change, with jokes more and more centering around Garfield and not John.
version of
The
Garfield
final
looks
strip
so
of
weird.
John being published on August 8th, 1977. The strip returning a week later, but now named Garfield. And within a year, Garfield would be syndicated on a national level, becoming the newer version of the comic we are all now familiar with. The second thing I find so strange about John is that while Jim Davis is often happy to laugh about the failure of Norm Nat, he barely ever speaks about John, and when he does, he only talks about it in the vaguest of terms, as if it was an idea in his sketchbook as opposed to an actual published comic. And I can't help but wonder if there's something to.
I mean, like if I had to assume, it's probably since this, like, after Norman Knott, I think was his other one. It's probably with all the grievances and all the, like, let's call it meta commentary towards like the comic strip industry, or however it was called. Probably like something in hindsight where he's not particularly proud of, or like not comfortable sharing it about anymore, because it was more like a rebellious thing, a test thing, not really to be taken serious in hindsight. I assume something along those lines. I can't be seen as a failure if it directly helped. I mean, yes, true. It's probably that he does not wanna like put those things into focus anymore. Yes, they led to Garfield, but I assume like I have never read those comic strips, but I can assume it's maybe like some of the commentary doesn't agree with anymore, doesn't want to like comment on this stuff anymore. And so it's just like, you know, keep it on the down low. Don't want to talk about this anymore. Even if it led to something good. Like, is my assumption at this. Like, I cannot look into Jim Davis' head. I tried. All I found was more Garfield. So I'm not going to do that again.
Do that. If the idea of a comic that was meant to be his own perspective, his own outlet on life, was a failure, overtaken by a fictional character he created. Even stranger, as Garfield went on, the similarities between Jim Davis and John Arbuckle began to disappear. John's job as a cartoonist practically vanishing as he devolves into the pathetic shell of a man we now know. And I'm not saying here that I think Jim Davis has some deep-rooted trauma that is manifesting in his daily newspaper comic. I genuinely do not think that.
I don't think
But
that
I
either.
do think that this perspective adds a lot to this strange meta-narrative of a man overtaken by his own creation, abandoning the character he once embodied, and that character now being trapped in a life of existential suffering. And here's the thing. If I was the only person who saw this, then there wouldn't be a story here. But I'm not. Let's go back to those last 5 minutes of Lasagna Cat.
Oh boy.
Lasagna Cat ended 2 years before the discovery of John, but even then, what John adds to Lasagna Cat is kind of chilling. Like in that final scene, when that second John ages, he begins to bear a striking resemblance to Jim Davis, the person we now know John was originally meant to be. This
Question is
new
if this is intentional.
strange combination of Jim Davis and John Arbuckle, lost and clinging to the husk of a cat he should have let go of a long time ago, before he comes face to face with a version of Garfield that's become independent from him and is now strange and frightening, before Davis crumbles to earth, outlived by the very thing he created, which is immediately followed by the bathroom scene. And what's interesting here is that if we translate the girl's monologue from Polish, it reads, "This child isn't mine. This child is from the darkness. I've given birth to humanity's curse. My soul will be swallowed and vomited and swallowed again.
It's very graphic.
Forever. Sick
Graphic
joke.
description.
But no one is laughing. My blood will remain. Death isn't the end. I am in hell. This is hell." And while I can't show it on screen, in that final shot, the baby is shown wearing a blue shirt identical to John Arbuckle's. For pieces of art like this, I think there is a lot of different interpretations that you can make. But for me personally, when Lasagna Cat is taken in totality, it becomes this bizarre statement on what happens when the things you create become more powerful than you. How
I can see it. I
Garfield
can see
has
what you
become
mean.
this semi-immortal entity, evolving past both John Arbuckle and Jim Davis. And I mean this literally. Garfield is no longer even...
I mean, oh, is it trying to talk about it? I'm pretty sure, like, by now, like, Jim Davis, I mean, he's getting on in the years. Let's face it. probably already like nominated as successor or as like training people to be successors. I think he's getting into this now.
Created by just Jim Davis. He has an entire team of people working under him who have become so adept at creating Garfield, their work is now indistinguishable from his. And Davis has even spoken about selecting a replacement so that Garfield can continue long after he's gone. But here's the thing.
Makes sense.
It's not just Jim Davis.
There's probably a lot of money in it.
Garfield has had this strange effect on. It's also ours. That might sound weird. I mean, how relevant could Garfield actually be in the modern era? Well, if I was to ask you which character out of Superman, Goku, and Garfield was the most syndicated, which would you pick? And if you picked any answer other than Garfield, well, that was a strange choice given the subject of this video, but yeah, it is Garfield.
But a little fun fact, not related to Garfield, but to Superman, and from what I heard, One Piece now overtook Superman in terms of like, I think, was it comics or like books sold or something? Something along those lines. So like, One Piece is now like more popular than like Batman or Superman, despite them having like years more of a headway. There's so many volumes. Oh yeah.
After multiple decades in thousands of worldwide newspapers, Garfield has an estimated audience in the hundreds of millions. The New York Times had to change how its trade bestseller list was categorized after 7 of its 10 slots were occupied by Garfield. And today, his merchandise...
Okay, one thing, like, you all are now probably like watching like be it TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and you have like this doom scrolling. You have like from an ice lob to like the weirdest videos and like some good ones in between, mixed in between. Why are there actually none about Garfield? Why? I've never seen one about Garfield. Think about that. That's curious.
Merchandising sales are at an estimated $800 million to $1 billion, and that is a lot to sell in 40 years. Oh, wait, that's every year? That's every fucking year! In products that twist Garfield into every conceivable form you can imagine. For example, Garfield soap, Garfield air fresheners, Garfield cushions, Garfield teapots, a poster with Garfield as a ninja, Garfield headphone holders, Garfield thermostat, Garfield commemorative coin, Garfield digital alarm clock, Garfield's key hanger, Garfield piggy bank, Garfield Walkman, Garfield globe, Garfield ice skates, Garfield boxing gloves, how to insult your friends, Garfield book, Garfield web browser, Garfield amusement park ride, Garfield personal massager, a Garfield mug, another Garfield mug, a much dumber Garfield mug, a Garfield mug that is even dumber than the first dumb Garfield mug, existential Garfield, another existential Garfield, slightly too many Irish stereotype Garfield, Garfield waistcoat, unwell Garfield, Garfield gun, Satan Garfield, slime Garfield, child Garfield, illegal Garfield, another fucking Garfield mug, I don't know what this is, table Garfield, yet another table Garfield, Garfield prison tray, sex Garfield, far too large Garfield, nightmare Garfield, this horrifying bedsheet, the deeply cursed Garfield eats. What is this? Why? This Garfield jigsaw, which for some reason I can't quite pin down, puts the fear of God in me. In the mid-80s, a small coastal French village began to suffer an unusual phenomenon when plastic Garfield phones began washing up on shore. No one knew where they came from or why this was happening, but it continued for 3 decades, a mystery that was only solved in 2019 when the mysterious phones were traced back to a lost shipping container. We have so saturated this planet with Garfield merchandise that even the Earth herself has begun to reject it.
That's a perfect statement. But it took 3 decades to find the damn shipping container. Is insane.
But if that's the case, why don't we notice Garfield more? Why don't we see him everywhere in every day? And the answer is because they don't want us to. In the early 1980s, a production accident led to a Garfield plush with suction cups attached to its hands and feet. Paws Inc., the holding company for Garfield, didn't expect what was a botched product to sell well, which is why it was such a shock when the toy was so popular, it led to a wave of car break-ins where radios and purses were left behind and only the plush was stolen, sales climbing to a staggering $50 million. And what did Jim Davis and Paws Inc. do? We pulled all plush dolls off the shelves for 5 years. They didn't want Garfield to be a fad. They wanted to silently inject him into every part of our daily lives, where he could hide in plain sight, silently growing into one of the most dominant fictional characters on the planet. And here's the thing, they succeeded.
Oh, yes.
What I'm about to tell you is not a joke. This is not some Space Jam 2-esque hijinks. This all happened over the course of making this video, an experience I call the Garfield phenomenon. It began in small ways. At first, I'd be watching a TV show and, oh, hey, there was Garfield. I'd look at Instagram and, my friends were posting about Garfield and, oh, a text. I guess Chris Pratt is playing Garfield in the new Garfield movie. That's strange timing. Wait, why is Toby Fox talking about Garfield? And sexy goth Garfield began trending on Twitter? I began to feel slightly uneasy, so maybe I'll just try and relax and look at some gaming news. And oh, hey, I guess Garfield's the new character in that Smash Nickelodeon fighting game. Isn't that grand? I'd been watching ReZero, which I did not like very much, and someone told me that Garfield appears in the second season, which just can't be true. And what the fuck? A friend sent me a picture of a mural in an old house, and there was Garfield staring at me with what I can only describe as some kind of all-knowing contempt. I was now doing whatever I could not to think about Garfield, and I agreed to watch the first episode of the new Dexter with my partner, and
wow, yeah, I can only imagine. Brian wants to call him Garfield. I mean, who needs a dog?
What the fuck? What the fuck did he just say?
Calm down.
everywhere I looked.
So, fun fact. I myself have a little like a wooden platter, like a sign. I got this from like a relative, I think, like years, and I talk like years ago, which basically says, take it easy, life is hard enough. And there's a picture of Garfield on it as well. I never cared for Garfield. I don't think like my relative who made this cared for Garfield. I still have it. It's like in, I don't have it hung up. It's like in what's the English word for it? It's a cupboard. Like I have it like put away somewhere, but I still have it. I know it. I don't know where exactly. It's in one of my cupboards or whatever. On one of my shelves. I would probably need to go look for it. But I still have that thing, pretty sure. I remember unpacking it when I moved to this apartment. So Garfield is everywhere. Even places where I don't expect him. There is Garfield.
I saw Garfield. But why? Why was this happening now? Well, that answer would come to me.
Okay, it's just an
And
orange
it
shirt.
did so
An orange car.
in the form of a phone call. Hello.
Hi, son.
Oh, hey, ma'am. How's it going?
John, I know you're working on your video of Garfield at the moment, so guess what? I found the picture of you with your Garfield.
Oh, ma'am, I
Oh?
don't think that was me. I was never actually that into Garfield. So earlier in this video, when I said that I was never into Garfield, that was true. I don't remember this. I don't remember owning this massive Garfield doll, but that is me, and that is my mom, and this happened. I just don't remember. And this is when it started to click.
I mean, I also had a lot of plushies when I was young, but I don't think I ever had a Garfield. I don't think I ever had a Garfield plush. I had a lot. Unfortunately, don't have them anymore. With Garfield, I never had. I don't think I had tons of plushies, but I don't think. Unfortunately, like I gifted them away to younger family members at one point. I don't have them anymore.
That when you look for Garfield, you begin to find him everywhere, even in the past. This is the Garfield phenomenon. Garfield is all around us, and he always has been. We just never noticed, but my eyes are open, and now so are yours. If an alien race dug through a ruined Earth, they would think we worshipped Garfield, and they would be right. These are the 3 keys in unlocking what Garfield has become on the internet. A daily newspaper comic strip designed to be as simple and consumable as possible, but because of this becomes unintentionally malleable and recreatable, spreading edits of it online, one of which unknowingly touches off a bizarre meta-narrative of a man being overtaken by his own creation. That creation in time becoming an entity unto itself, one that has laid just outside the perception of man for 40 years and will remain there for infinitely more, transcending humanity itself. This is the bizarre modern reality of Garfield, and now that we understand it, we may enter the world of I'm Sorry, John.
Okay, for everybody on stream and those who might be watching the YouTube video, just a little heads up. I mean, there was already kind of a lot of messed up stuff in there, but you know, this gonna get a bit more graphic, I guess. I probably need to put like a trigger warning in front of the entire video at this point.
On October 22nd, 2013, a comic was uploaded to the internet that showed John Arbuckle waking late one night.
Getting
but
really
something is wrong.
Crazy.
Something is very wrong. His room is bathed in an eerie orange glow, a strange material covering his walls, his furniture, and his entire home. He goes downstairs to try and discover the source of this problem, and upon entering the kitchen, he sees Garfield, his cat's strange swollen head bizarrely embedded in the wall, his skin spreading outward, covering every surface of his home.
I was so hungry.
As John realizes with horror, his entire home with him in it have been ingested by Garfield.
I'm sorry, John.
This was the beginning, and in the years to follow, more and more strange and frightening depictions of Garfield would begin to appear on the internet. Comics that looked normal at first, only to take disturbing turns, with Garfield often portrayed as something alien and unknowable. One of the most popular of which was 2017's Gramfell, a darkly humorous webcomic whose early pages were focused on John's depression, met by an uncaring, nihilistic Gramfell. But as the comic continued, Gramfell began to reveal to John not only the inherent unhappiness of life, but the futility of his existence as a character trapped in a webcomic, breaking John down to his core components and trapping him in strange and surreal realities over and over, at one point even transforming the very webcomic of Gramfell itself into a different series called Jan and Gram, in which John gets to live out the cute and peaceful life he's always wanted before John is ripped from his serene dream and in the final page is forced to acknowledge that he is alone. And he always will be. What I find so fascinating about Gramfell is it's that same dynamic of John and Garfield, just brought to a cosmically nihilistic extreme. This was the core concept of what would inform everything that was to come. But notably, Gramfell never felt truly frightening or disturbing because of the simple pastel cuteness of its aesthetic. And if the horror of Garfield on the internet was going to truly solidify, it needed an aesthetic, and in the following year, it would get it. In 2018, an image would be uploaded to Instagram from horror artist Will Burke, one that depicted a horrifyingly bloated Garfield clutching a tiny, frightened John with the text,
John, I require lasagna.
Something about this image resonated with people, and it became wildly popular online, becoming the first in a series of 5 illustrations, each one depicting Garfield as a grotesque, swollen monstrosity, his form swimming between heaving mounds of flesh and sharp insect-like appendages as he hunted John through his home. And while the sheer horror of seeing Garfield twisted into such nightmarish forms were a huge part of the power of these images, critically, they also captured the kind of hopelessness of the character of John Arbuckle, but channeled it into pure horror. One illustration showing John terrified and clutching a shotgun as a grotesque centipede-like Garfield emerges through the door behind him, with text that reads,
Bullets don't work, John.
The final image of this series depicting a gargantuan Garfield now towering over a helpless, terrified John as he whispers,
The world is going to end, John.
These images would rampage across the internet, being posted, reposted, and upvoted tens of thousands of times, and would become the blueprint for everything Garfield would become online. As different artists began to create their own interpretations of Burke's work, such as animator Lumpy Touch, who took Burke's illustrations and reimagined them through stunning and horrifying pixel art animations, not only giving these still images a new horrifying dimension through movements, but also reframing them as a 2D survival horror video game. Lumpy Touch taking this concept even further later on, with both a first-person exploration recreation of the original I'm Sorry John comic, as well as creating a tutorial for his own fake Garfield survival horror game in which the player is hunted by one of 13 gore fields, all based on the different zodiac signs. And what I really love about this is you can see that kind of existential horror introduced by Gramfell, as well as the more grotesque body horror introduced by Burke, now being spliced with other mediums and genres of horror, and you could see this continue to evolve in other illustrations like those of artist Omega Black, who took the idea of Garfield horror and introduced a cosmic eldritch feel, like this image in which Garfield states,
I no longer require eyes, John.
Which I am pretty sure is a reference to the 1997 film Event Horizon, a sci-fi horror in which a group of astronauts board a lost starship that has returned from hell, featuring the infamous line,
Where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
Omega Black's other illustrations only expanding on this Lovecraftian style of Garfield horror, with a grotesque centipede-like Garfield stating,
Heaven is a void of light, John.
Or John being held captive by cloaked Oddies before an impossibly massive multi-armed Garfield booms.
I'm Eternal John.
Each new piece of Garfield fan art added to this idea of Garfield as a cosmic, horrifying being, sometimes referred to as Creepy Garfield or Gorefield. And this is what led to October 8th, 2018, and the creation of the subreddit r/I'm Sorry John. There's nearly a cult-like feel to I'm Sorry John. Its title plaque reading, Garfield has abandoned his limited form and he is beautiful. Surrender yourself to him and be saved.
All
This
praise
is a community of nearly
Garfield.
800,000 people dedicated to bringing to life this new version of Garfield the internet has created, as well as his infinite torments of John.
The
Our-
artistic
and
talents
maybe,
behind
like I
it
did,
alone
you
is
were thinking,
insane.
no, Garfield's not evil. He's not
Nah,
trying
he's a
to
cat.
hurt John. It's not like that mystery number 2 category of Garfield joke is in fact humor based off Garfield's torment of John. But that's right, at 18.8%, nearly 1 in 5 Garfield jokes center around Garfield
took, like, a
causing John
long time to reveal
mental
it.
anguish. And it's not just that.
Well, a very
Another
long
variable I
setup.
measured for was the amount of times Garfield showed empathy towards John or tried to comfort his suffering in any way. And across nearly 1,000 comics, that number was 0. So,
Average cat.
in the same way Garfield minus Garfield reveals something real, if unintentional, about Garfield, the same is true in I'm Sorry John. Garfield has
This one is still my favorite. I can't help it. Just buff Garfield. You messed up, John.
always been about a person trapped with a cold, nihilistic being that torments him, and it's been that way for 40 years. And all that r/I'm Sorry John does is bring that concept to a horrifying extreme. This is the reason I think so many pieces on I'm Sorry John have this odd kind of power to them. Their horror is rooted in being trapped with something awful and inescapable. But what's really fascinating about the horror of I'm Sorry John
forgot that one.
is how different
Oh, I was
artists have
cursed.
approached this idea in different ways. I like categorizing things, so I've identified what I think are 3 basic kinds of horror on I'm Sorry John. The first being physical Garfield horror. These are pieces that twist Garfield into strange and frightening creatures, sometimes into amalgamations of unsettling body horror, but more often swelling Garfield to such nightmarish proportions that there is no chance of John ever defeating, escaping, or even surviving these grotesque beasts Garfield has become. And what's interesting here is how many of these pieces evoke or even directly reference the FromSoft games Dark Souls and Bloodborne, which themselves create a lot of their horror and emotion by forcing you into battles with these massive and horrifying creatures that feel impossible to overcome. It's that kind of physical hopelessness that these pieces create. And just like those games, the more extreme examples of this kind of Garfield horror carry a cosmic, nearly Lovecraftian feel, as Garfield is now so large, so impossible, that he begins to feel like some kind of terrible deity, a being of such immense power and scale that it throws into chaos our own sense of humanity's place in the universe, whether we really are the dominant species we've always assumed, or just dust in the wake of something much greater. I just read that line and I can't believe we're talking about fucking Garfield. The second type of Garfield horror is more intimate and psychological. Here, it's less that Garfield is a physical threat as much as it is the subtle, insidious damage he's doing to John's mental state, sometimes in the form of an awful, malicious creature who constantly follows John and goads him, driving him to do terrible things, but sometimes as a delusional presence in John's own mind, a manifestation of his internal struggles, be they depression, addiction, or worse. in a way that feels similar to your Shinings, your Silent Hills, or reading your own comment section. These pieces are much rarer, but what I think's awesome about them is how they take that bleakness that's always been a part of John's character and express it through Garfield.
In a very
There is
extreme
a
manner.
third type of Garfield horror, and these are my personal favorite. Posts that focus on a more existential form of terror. The simplest examples of this are pieces that trap John in these impossible and infinite liminal spaces where there is no escape and he will forever be haunted by Garfield. But other scenarios are more elaborate, like when even death itself can't release John from Garfield's grasp, showing Garfield as this immortal, unending being who will always return to plague John, or even the opposite, like in this one comic where John takes his own life to escape Garfield, only to be brought back to life by him so his suffering can continue. Other pieces are stranger and even more abstract, like showing Garfield as these grotesque physical parasites that have attached themselves to John and are feeding off him, while he is trapped in these strange, unending dream worlds. And I think where this particular kind of horror gets really powerful is when it's combined with the more psychological type of Garfield horror we just talked about, like Lumpy Touch's Relax John, which we mentioned earlier. And what I think is so great about this animation is it shows John returning home late one night at his most broken, his life now destroyed, having lost his job, Liz, and even Odie. And it's at this point, when he's at his absolute lowest, that he is most vulnerable to a being like Garfield, who offers John an escape from his miserable existence in the form of comfort, but in reality drags him into a frightening nightmare. And I love this so much because it is such a fantastic example of what Garfield has become on the internet. Garfield is despair. He's the part of John that makes him feel weak and insignificant, who pulls him down and traps him in realities dark and frightening. That is the core horror of Garfield and I'm Sorry, John. It's interesting to note that this concept has only continued to evolve online in sub-communities like You're Welcome, John, which is a more wholesome, if still very disturbing relationship between John and a cosmically nightmarish Garfield, as well as I'm Really Sorry, John, which I cannot even talk about if this video has
I think /I'm Really Sorry, John is by now completely banned on Reddit, actually. Okay, yeah, I see your argument here, BB. I see your argument here, BB, but like the Luxapede emote is actually adorable, so that's not cosmic horror.
any hope of staying monetized. Hey, by the way, this video is nearly definitely going to be demonetized, and so I have a Patreon. There's one tier, it's $1, so yeah. But hey, look, either way, I appreciate you watching. You can even see this very defined kind of Garfield horror being transplanted onto other fictional series with I'm Sorry John's occasional non-Garfield weekends. And while I really love these pieces...
Ernie, how do I look? With your eyes, Bert. With your eyes.
God, that's so good. I think it's interesting how, really at least to me, they never quite carry the same level of impact or meaning as those based on Garfield. Not only because of how deeply rooted the horror of I'm Sorry John is in the very core of Garfield, but also in how, when taken with everything else we've talked about today, these pieces begin to transform what these characters are, and in particular, John Arbuckle. When I started this video, all John was this schlubby dude, but over time, that started to change. I watched him go from this character with a very defined purpose and reason for existing to someone who loses that purpose and becomes to the world around them a pathetic joke. And it's like that experience causes this deep emptiness to well up inside them, A despair that makes life feel meaningless and impossible in a way that the Garfield
Now it
comic
gets really
can
existential.
barely contain.
Oh
Till
god.
one day, that despair begins to manifest as Garfield, an entity that traps John in this deep and horrifying delusion, warping every part of his reality. This entity, with each passing day, growing stronger and more frightening as John falls deeper into despair. And when I think of this late stage of John's existence, there's one artist in particular that comes to mind. Part of what makes Rajam's work so powerful and frightening is how intimately they seem to understand each particular kind of Garfield horror. Some pieces show Garfield as these massive, monstrous beasts whose mere existence conveys this horrifying physical futility. Others show Garfield as this gargantuan and grotesque parasite, as this insidious force that's been with John since the moment he was born, and for years has manipulated and contorted every part of his life, draining John, until finally Garfield has grown so powerful that he's now more a god than anything else, so infinite, cosmic, and terrifying that he's become John's entire reality, and John, now just a speck of dust, hopeless and terrified in the face of this thing that he created till the end of time. And I think there's something really powerful about these images. The beautiful thing about horror is it lets us externalize the things that haunt us. And when I look at the work of Omega Black or Lumpy Touch or Rajam, what I see is a person struggling. Someone whose existence stopped making sense a long time ago and who's just trapped in this horrifying distortion of what their life should be. And I think there's something very human about that. When I think back to the very worst periods of my life, what comes to me is this feeling of being trapped in my own mind, that there is something in me that is distorting how I see the world and the people around me and everything.
The outfit,
and
my guy. It doesn't fit
horrible.
the tone at all.
It's a nightmare. And I think the hardest part of it is the feeling that it's never going to end, that the way you feel in those moments is how you will feel for the rest of your life. And if you've ever struggled mentally or emotionally, you know that fear. And it is that fear that I've never seen visualized better than in fucking Garfield fan art.
I mean, besides the unseriousness of the outfit here, yes, I know what he means, but I have really a hard time taking him seriously when he talks about this while wearing this.
We all want to be Garfield, but we all are John Arbuckle.
No, I'm Lux. Sorry.
And the thing is, those bad times, they do never last.
That's true, yeah.
They do end.
Things always get better. You just need to.
And I think that's why I find this
believe in
final piece
not give up.
so hopeful. The piece is done in Rajam's traditional pen and ink style, but with a subtlety that makes it feel nearly carved from stone. And it shows a demonic Garfield.
That is very true, baby. That is very true. Bad times never last, only tough people.
Lying, defeated and broken, a sandaled foot pinning him to the ground, which belongs to an angelic John Arbuckle. Tears
the picture
rolling down his face, his wings raised in this just glorious arc. And
That's
it's like
the meme, old man. What? I
after
don't know that meme.
everything we've watched
But it's
John
just a
go
quote.
through, after all the loneliness, the depression, the complete loss of his identity, leading to the dissolution of his reality into this infinite, abject nightmare. After all that, somehow, he's made it to this moment. He's taken his life back from the shit that haunts him, and it's fucking beautiful.
The detailing.
And maybe this won't last.
Oh god.
Maybe there's still
Details.
darker times ahead. But it doesn't matter. Because in this moment, he's okay. John's okay. And look, I get it. I get that having this strong an emotional reaction to what is most certainly a Garfield shitpost is ridiculous. But goddamn, that is what I do here. I take my hope where I can get it. The title of this piece being The Forgiveness of John. I put the costume back on because I was worried that this part might be too heavy without it, and also I paid a lot of money for it. What makes The Forgiveness of John so powerful to me is that in isolation, it is an amazing piece of art and a real technical achievement.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely,
when
100%.
taken with everything else we've spoken about this video, it becomes the concluding chapter of a gigantic meta-narrative that is formed around John Arbuckle. And again, if I was the only person who saw that, there wouldn't be a story here. The Forgiveness of John being the third most popular post on r/I'm sorry John of all time, as well as adorning its front page. And I think it's awesome that so many people's individual works come together to pull such an incredible story out of something as simple as a daily comic strip about a cat who likes lasagna. This is what I love about fandoms. When you stare at them for long enough, these beautiful and strange stories start to emerge that are distorted and honest and amazing. And whatever else you want to say about the nightmare of the modern day internet and social media, I'm glad that those stories have a place to exist. I think that's pretty cool.
People often say like the internet, oh no, like the internet is a bad thing and whatever.
Friends, thank you for joining me today, and I really hope you enjoyed
While
this video.
there's a certain truth to it, it is also a place where we can all meet up and like
incredible thumbnail.
without the internet, stuff like this could never happen.
So much awesome shit that I
Let's face it.
didn't get to touch on this video, so be sure to check out.
God, look at all the Patreon people.
Them at Lumpy Touch on Twitter. I also really want to thank both Quinton Reviews and Izzy Is.
It is a really good video. I recommend it.
Some fantastic leads, so thank you.
No scuffs without the
Make more videos like
That
this,
is true.
head on
No
over to
scuff of legends without the internet. That's 100% true.
Where for just a single $1, you can help me make more of, well, whatever this was.
It's such a good video. I like it a lot.
And I just want to immediately apologize for my
And I hope you all enjoyed it as well.
Chelsea.
I mean, last stream you basically like said we gotta watch it, so now we watched it.
Chica, Emmanuel Paredes, and
but the emotional aspect at the end too, with like that you like can pull this whole thing around of like, yeah, you can like
take care of yourselves.
get courage out of it. I can't even begin to imagine how much research it differs. Oh yeah, research, editing, everything, insane, absolute insane. So let me real quick, for everybody who is in chat right now, let me post the link as well, and will of course also be linked down below in the video. In the video, right? But yeah, it is an incredible piece of YouTube art, in my opinion. I enjoy it a lot. So let me just real quick. Immediately name the video file as well. I've not like have this down to like a T with like how to do this properly with React or whatever. But basically, I mean, technically I already have a React video on my YouTube, which is when I watched the entirety of Epic, which was a couple months ago, before it was during the Greek mythology month. I just see the Garfield merch. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Think about it. I had no doubts about that. Oh god, Ray sent me like a 10-minute voice file again. Oh god. Oh no, Ray is back at it again. I will not listen to his like voice message during stream. We're gonna take a quick break, couple minutes, because like the ads are already trying to run through. I already like blocked them 2 times. Absolute incredible video. I cannot say it often enough. I stumbled upon it like, it's already 4 years old, jeez. Stumbled upon it like when it was 1 year old. And it's such a gem. It's such a gem. So yeah, we're gonna do a couple minutes break while the ads run through, and I'm gonna get something nice to drink in the meantime. And then we continue. I have a bunch more videos. Those are from Kurzgesagt, or basically from a second channel from Kurzgesagt called Night Shift, which I've never seen before, but the topics are very interesting. They're history based. For those who know me, I am a big fan of history after all. So you gotta watch them together afterwards. And for now, couple minutes break. And we are back. Oh, still need to. No more catboy for now. The catboy toggle just fit very well with the Garfield video, let's face it. So. Yeah, as I said, I have a couple more videos prepared for y'all, and those videos are actually ones I haven't seen before. I said they're from Night Shift, which is like a secondary Kurzgesagt channel, so it's still part of Kurzgesagt, but like I think it's history based. I found it today, and they don't have. I think it's only like released like this year, so it's relatively new. And like the topics seem very interesting, from like the most powerful pirate in history, about something about whale hunting, stuff about Louis King Louis XIV, the zombie king apparently, the origin of the number 0, the gold nugget that changed America forever. So the topics seem really interesting, and I do like Kurzgesagt a lot. Not only because it's like basically like Kurzgesagt is a German word for basically in a nutshell, it's Kurzgesagt. It's basically what it means. And yeah, we're gonna watch a couple of those videos as much as we feel like. I don't know how interesting they actually are, but they seem interesting. So we're gonna watch it. So let me prep the next video. So we're gonna pause the music. I'm gonna activate the capture again. Good. So. And yeah. So the most powerful pirate in history. Most powerful pirate in history. I think I know this story roughly. I don't remember the name, but wasn't this like a Chinese woman actually, who had like a gigantic pirate fleet, who controlled much of the trade in the area? I think mainly in the South China Sea. I think something along those lines. I heard this story somewhere years ago, and I think she was meant as the most influential pirate back in the days, or generally the most influential pirate or most powerful pirate ever. Which is ironic because pirates, most people think of the Caribbeans or maybe Somalia, but it's actually apparently in China, if this is the topic of it. But I assume it is. I assume it is. I've never seen this video, so let's hop right in. It's from Night Shift.
Flames light the sky over the Pearl River Delta as war junks swarm the banks of
I think it's that.
a fishing village in southern China. It's 1809. The attacker's captain has promised 10 silver coins for every villager's head. By now, the villagers know it was a mistake not to pay the Pirate Confederation protection money. They've built a wooden palisade and armed every man between 16 and 60, but now everything goes wrong. Their only cannon explodes in their faces, and their leader gets stabbed in the back in the turmoil.
Oh God!
One man makes a last stand from a rooftop, hurling dust onto the attackers until they bring him down with spears. The looting lasts 3 days. 2,000 are dead, and when the pirates finally sail away, they set the village on fire and leave 80 severed heads hanging from a banyan tree, staring blankly across the water as a warning. The southern Chinese coast is living in fear, and no one comes to help. The Chinese Empire, the largest and wealthiest state on Earth, can't protect its people. How? The Middle Kingdom. Around
That's an insane
1800,
story.
China governs 300 to 400 million people, a third of the world's population, and its economy is the largest on Earth. While European powers fight over colonies and trade routes, Imperial China has been running the same operating system for over 2,000 years. When their Western contemporaries
like
were still
Chinese
hacking at each
history
other
is
with swords
insane.
and holding chests of gold, they had already invented gunpowder and used paper money. Their compass helped Europeans discover already inhabited lands and eventually led them back to China for tea and porcelain. China sees itself as the Middle Kingdom, the center of civilization, while everybody else are barbarians, slowly learning what it has known for centuries. The current dynasty running this ancient machine is the Qing, but to most people, they're still outsiders. They're Manchu, descendants of horse-riding warriors from the north who smashed through the Great Wall in 1644, realized the Chinese system was too sophisticated to replace, and simply kept it running with themselves in charge. Imagine this realm as a gravitational field. At its center sits the emperor in Beijing, like a supermassive black hole, bending the fabric of society around him. His pull extends through a vast bureaucracy of governors, magistrates, and inspectors, keeping hundreds of millions of people in their place in the cosmic hierarchy.
China always, like in historical terms, China was always extremely influential. A lot of it is due to geographic locations. They have a lot of fertile land and are uniquely situated with like mountain ranges and deserts, basically, and the sea, forming a natural barrier around the entire area in most places. And were always very inward oriented. They did not really care much for the outside and so focused on inward things, while simultaneously having a lot of resources. And the few resources they did not have in ample amounts, they either, did without it or got through trade, most often in very favorable terms. Which, on the other hand, also eventually led to a sort of arrogance from the Chinese empires, which eventually contributed to the fall during the later years. Talking about the 1900s here.
But the further you get from Beijing, the weaker that gravitational pull becomes. 2,000 kilometers south lies Guangdong, a subtropical province between the mountains and the ocean. Here, the empire fractures into the Pearl River Delta, a maze of channels, swamps, and islands that hum with trade, people, boats, and markets, some so crowded they spill onto the water. China's population has tripled in a century, and land is running out. The size of the bureaucracy, however, remains almost the same. Its grip is slipping, and corruption spreads. The first to feel it are those already on the edge, like the boat families who live season to season. Fishing only works half the year, and when the nets come up empty, they haul cargo, ferry passengers, or smuggle rice or salt. And some turn to piracy part-time, raiding along the coast until the monsoon season turns. The difference between fisherman and pirate sometimes is simply seasonal employment.
Insane concept,
Somewhere
but yeah.
in this drifting world, in 1775, a girl is born. Nobody pays much attention, but one day, empires will know her name. She'll grow up to become the most powerful pirate in history.
Dainty dramatic. No, sorry.
Waterworld. It's likely she's part of the tanker boat people, living on a wooden junk patched with tar and cloth. A few meters of creaking planks in a cluster of boats with floating kitchens, markets, and temples. Some families go years without touching land. By the time she can handle a paddle, she's working, fishing, or ferrying, whatever pays. While landwomen crush their feet into lotus buds to attract husbands, she hops barefoot from plank to plank. Boys on shore spend years memorizing ancient texts for a shot at becoming officials. But the tanker can't own land, take imperial exams, or marry into shore families. They're classified as mean people, impure, like actors and prostitutes. And so,
Wow.
like many before her, as she gets older, she finds work on a flower boat, a floating brothel. These boats serve sailors, merchants, and pirates. Most are poor, but lately more and more show up with serious silver and military weapons from Vietnam. For years, the Tai Shon rebels there fought in a civil war and handed out ships, cannons, and military ranks to Chinese pirates to raid the Qing Empire and share the profits.
Oh, it's basically like privateering in
Now
a
they're
way.
losing, and the jobless pirates are returning to China. One night in 1801, a pirate named Zheng Yi visits the flower boat. He's powerful and commands his own fleet. The record gets vague as to how, but within months, the girl is his wife and sails with his fleet. From here on, she's known as Zheng Yi Sao, literally wife of Zheng Yi.
Oh. Naming conventions
The
back then were
Confederation.
weird.
She's entering the pirate world at the perfect moment. With veterans flooding back from Vietnam, the sea is swarming with more pirates than anyone has seen in living memory. Also, the Delta has become one of the world's most valuable trade corridors, with Guangzhou, called Canton by Europeans, as the only legal port for foreign trade. An open buffet of silver, tea, silk, opium, and porcelain for pirates. Meanwhile, the Empire is having what you might call a bad century. Inland, they're fighting bloody uprisings like the White Lotus Rebellion, and on the coast, corruption is rampant, patrols are underfunded, and their navy is a joke. By 1805, the pirates are fighting each other more than robbing merchants, which is bad for business. So they do what any sensible criminal would do and incorporate.
Band
6
together.
main fleets share loot, settle disputes in a central court, and are led by Zheng Yi, captain of the most powerful Red Flag fleet. To keep control, he uses
is
the
like its
methods
own
of
government,
mafia
basically.
and aristocracy.
It's
His
insane.
brother commands squadrons, his sister marries an ally, and promising young pirates are adopted. And beside him is Zheng Yi Sao, running the numbers and managing alliances. Together, they command one of the largest naval forces in the world. They even dominate government monopolies. Salt merchants start paying pirate convoys instead of imperial ones. A silver fee gets you a pirate passport and real protection. When some convoys resist, pirates torch hundreds of government ships to make it clear who's boss. Portugal and Britain would love to send their warships, since their profits are evaporating too. But the Qing refused to let foreign gunboats pass the Tiger's Mouth, the entrance to the Pearl River.
That's again part of the arrogance of the Chinese at this point.
They're more afraid
already.
of British help than pirate domination, which is probably fair.
Yeah, that's
By now,
another part too,
even
yeah.
fishermen need a pirate signed pass. The waterways belong to the Confederation. They're fast, brutal, and operate with military precision. The Pirate Playbook. Let's board one of their ships, a former cargo junk 12 meters long and never built for war. Now it sails under patched canvas and a black and white hull, flaunting a dozen cannons. Below deck is a village compressed into a dark wooden tube. Some pirates share a mat with their wife and children, while new recruits and prisoners fight for space. 200 people in total. Only the captain lives with any comfort in the raised stern cabin with his wives. Scouts spotted a convoy, their escorts imperial banners proving they haven't paid for protection. At a signal, dozens of pirate war junks explode from behind the rocks, surrounding the convoy.
It was basically
When their guns erupt, grape shot made from nails and coins shreds through wooden flesh. Three-man teams work the massive ginger guns, while others
saying it's a
hurl
risk
9-meter-long
going without the
bamboo
pirate
pikes.
convoy at this point is
From the
another
mast,
statement.
pirates fling stink pots full of liquor and gunpowder. They leap from boat to boat with long-handled knives, tridents, and rattan shields. Some sailors try to surrender, while others jump overboard. But captured Navy crews get no mercy. The pirates nail their feet to the planks and hack them apart. One pirate steps forward and cuts open an officer's chest, pulls out the heart, and bites into it like a fruit. To him, it's practical magic. Consume the enemy's courage, steal his strength. The merchant ships surrender instantly. Once their convoy's silver, silk, and opium is taken, a squadron sails upriver to strike the nearest town. The strategy is similar: spread fear and name a price. If they refuse, everyone dies. Some bargain, others pay early, sending silver, rice, and roasted pigs for the fleet's floating temple. As it grows, the Confederation opens protection offices along the coast and even a tax bureau in Guangzhou, where you can pay your pirate fees, like renewing a license. They set up...
I mean, as I read, I knew this story a bit about Shangxi So. Sorry, butchering your name. Probably misremembering it. But they even set up tax offices and like basically, I mean, it's not even running it like a business. It's literally running like a government.
Supply deals across Guangdong for food, fuel, and ammo, paying above market and sparing their merchants. By 1806, fishermen with empty nets and peasants with no land are signing up en masse. The floating state.
Yeah.
But on November the 16th, 1807, pirate captain Zheng Yi dies, either in a storm or struck by a cannonball, leaving a power vacuum. Before anyone else can make a move, his widow Zheng Yi Sao takes control. Unlike most rivals, she already has legitimacy. She sailed alongside her husband, helped lead campaigns, has children with him, and is widely known in the fleet. First, she secures the family's loyalty. Then comes her boldest move. She marries Zhang Bo, a young captain who had become Zheng Yi's adopted son, and puts him in charge of the Red Fleet. By Confucian standards, a widow marrying is absolutely scandalous, let alone her stepson.
Oh, yeah.
But by marrying Zhang Bo, she makes the chain of command unmistakably her own. Her next step is to tighten discipline, so she issues a new pirate law. Loot has to be registered and inspected. The original captor keeps 20%, the rest goes into a common treasury to support the fleet. Anyone disobeying a superior is decapitated, and pirates who rape captives are executed. She runs the Confederation like a CEO with cannons. Nothing moves without her signature, injured pirates get healthcare, brave ones get bonuses, and the accounting is impeccable.
I have to hold my tongue to not make a joke. A certain country had the lack of healthcare. Oh god, this is insane.
The Confederation has become a parallel state, complete with law, welfare, and a strategy of violent wealth redistribution. A floating shadow empire alongside the Qing. At her peak, Zheng Yi Sao commands about 70,000 pirates on 1,800 ships, dwarfing the Spanish Armada, while Blackbeard, the most feared pirate in Western history, had maybe 4 ships and 300 drunk men on his best day.
The comparison kills me just now. Oh my god, Blackbeard, one of the most famous, as I said, Western pirates, completely seems like a fleeing comparison.
Somehow, a former sex worker has constructed a floating pirate state more efficient than the government trying to destroy her. Endgame. In 1809, the Qing impose a coastal embargo, reroute salt shipments overland, and prevent ships from leaving ports to starve the pirates out. But these fleets are full of fishermen who built their own state because the official one had nothing to offer anyway. When the same empire now tries to take this band-aid away, they turn to revolt.
Oh, yeah.
Raiding squadrons pour inland like floodwater into rivers and creeks, overrunning garrisons, looting markets, and clashing with militias funded by the Qing. Zhang Bo's Red Flag Fleet creeps close to Guangzhou, disrupting trade, blocking river traffic, and sending cannon fire echoing into the city on a daily basis to extort silver and supplies. This hits the Qing where it hurts. Losing Guangzhou's customs office would be like losing the empire's credit card. After centuries of treating foreign powers like annoying tribute states, they're running out of options and turn to the barbarians for help. They don't trust
That
the
alone
British,
is
who just
insane.
recently landed troops in Macau and
This fact alone is so significant. Something the Chinese empires never did before. And this, well, as you said, this former sex worker become pirate overlord of the Chinese seas. Made them change their approach to diplomacy completely. I don't trust the British either.
pushed warships up
Oh,
the
no.
Pearl River without permission, claiming to protect it from the French in a sort of proxy of the Napoleonic Wars. So they turned to the Portuguese, who've been squatting in Macau since the 1500s under lease from China. For a mountain of silver, they send warships to patrol alongside Qing junks and play whack-a-mole with pirates at the Tiger's Mouth. And fail. In December, the Qing switch strategies. They offer full amnesty, government jobs, and silver for any pirate leader who flips. Now, the cracks start to show. The Black Flag commander, Guo Padai, smells opportunity. He has spent years resenting Zhang Bo. He envies his rise, his victories, and the fact that Zheng Yi Sao picked him. So when the Red Flag calls for backup, he ghosts them. Then the two fleets clash, and the Black Flag wins. 1,000 pirates are killed and 16 ships captured. Within weeks, Guo Padai surrenders to the Qing, waving his trophies like a job application. Other leaders follow, hoping to cut a deal before it's too late. Zheng Yi Sao reads the room perfectly. In early 1810, she walks to government officials in Macau, leading thousands of followers behind her. Entire families who've spent years living aboard pirate ships now come to ask for peace. Their petition reads like this: "We are insects and ants. Save us from the flood and fire. Pardon our former crimes and open for us a new way of life from this day forward. We solemnly promise to sell our swords and buy cows. If we dare to act with duplicity, you may kill us at once." Beneath the humble tone is sharp timing. Zheng Yi Sao is still holding the cards. The Qing need the violence to stop, so they accept a remarkable deal. She keeps her ships, 17,000 pirates are granted amnesty, and Zhang Bo is made a naval officer. The two are allowed to marry legally and turn to legal maritime trade. Zheng Yi Sao retires near Guangzhou, runs a gambling house, possibly dabbles in smuggling. She outlives Zhang Bo by 2 decades and dies peacefully around 1844 at 69.
Nice. Sorry. This is the most insane part of the story. This is the part I knew already. She not only went up against the Chinese Empire, won basically against them numerous times, including the British and the Portuguese Navy that they hired, won against them, and then she just pulled the ultimate move of saying, okay, we surrender under my conditions, basically. She kept ships, 70,000 pirates gained amnesty. And she lived to the age of 69 and died peacefully. Legally. This is just the ultimate. This is the ultimate move. Absolute queen. Yes, absolute. It's insane.
The end of a dynasty. Zheng Yi Sao was a remarkable woman and a ruthless killer.
Oh yeah,
Her
no
pirate
doubt.
state could rise because rich trade lanes met weak defenses and famine turned hungry sailors into an army on sea.
Well, redemption arc. Is it really a redemption arc if she... Like, when she's still around like gambling rings and possibly involved in smuggling, it's not the same as piracy anymore, but, you know, redemption is
The empire
strong
left
word,
a
I
vacuum
guess.
on the water, she filled it. For the Qing, it's a disaster. They had to borrow foreign gunboats, offer amnesty, and call it a win. But when British warships return 30 years later in 1839, they force open China's markets. Foreign powers carve out treaty ports, run their own trade zones, and anti-piracy becomes their favorite excuse.
this is the next point, which, in my opinion, is also like something that shows the arrogance of the Chinese empire, of the Chinese emperor, of the governance there at this time, is 30 years after the whole incident with the piracy, they did not manage to get a proper naval presence on their own coast, and now the British and Portuguese and Dutch and I don't know if the Spanish and French, just the Western powers are starting to take advantage of it.
Their merchants even sell weapons to pirates, fueling the problem to justify colonial expansion, while Beijing's control of the coast keeps shrinking. The Qing fall in 1911, and it takes their successors decades to undo the damage. Most legal privileges for foreigners are only abolished during World War II, while the last European colony in China, Macau, isn't handed back by Portugal until 1999. All this time, piracy never disappeared. It's still happening in crowded choke points like the Singapore Strait and the Gulf of Aden. In the late 1990s, attacks spike after the Asian financial crisis, and a decade later, Somali fishermen fill the power vacuum left by a collapsed state. Pirates were never only bandits. They tax trade, enforce rules, and redistribute wealth. But they also take hostages, use terror, and enforce control through violence whenever the state leaves space for someone else to step in. Zheng Yisao was not the first to take advantage of this, and she wasn't the last.
She was definitely the most successful, though. I mean, holy.
This
like,
is the
this
kind
is a
of
legacy
video we've wanted to make for a long, long time. Telling stories that bring forgotten people and distant eras to life. Yeah. We're creating this channel on top of everything else we do because we have so many stories we want to tell.
I know
Everything
that feeling.
you see and hear is human-made and no AI slop. Created by a passionate team who writes the scripts, consults experts, illustrates and animates every second, handpicks sound effects, and composes the music.
That's
It's
so cool.
wonderful, but also a lot of work. We simply can't do it without people who think it's worth supporting. So, if you enjoy
It's
these
so
videos as much
cool.
as we do, becoming a channel member is the best way to help us bring more overlooked
You know, if you
light.
guys like
We
see my
understand if this
video
isn't an
here, like
option,
if you
so
need someone to
subscribing and
narrate, like
sharing
I'd
this
be
video with
available.
friends, family, or your history teacher
No, I
helps a
couldn't
lot
have.
too. Thank you so
It's
much.
it's
Maybe
amazing.
send it
I
to your
love the
boss as
animation
well.
style.
We're open to sponsorships and would love to work with
And
companies that
like
share
bringing
our
light
values
to
and passion.
stories,
Okay,
so they're
we'll
not
get back to
forgotten.
our
I mean,
desks because we're already working
I'm
on the
all
next
here for
videos.
it.
In the meantime, we'll keep you posted with periodic behind-the-scenes and progress updates. Thanks for watching, and welcome to the night shift.
It's such a great thing. Okay, sorry, the next video. It's an amazing video, an amazing story. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Like this is the kind of stories that actually got me into being a tale teller. Not gonna lie. So, wait, let me hop back once. Once again, for everybody who's interested in the video itself, here is the link. Let me leave a like here as well. It's an absolutely amazing story. Oh, oops. You saw nothing. Just kidding. Just immediately renaming the thingy here so I don't forget like the title thing. Those kinds of videos are just awesome. They're just awesome. So what else? Yeah, I mean we can just watch the next video. I think after this one we gonna wrap it up for today. The Garfield video is like at least with video watching. Maybe we do something else. I don't know, but like after we're gonna watch the whale hunting one because it also sounds very interesting to me. Gonna leave a like it because I'm gonna like it. Boo, yeah, boo. I know. I am not able to stream for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. I wish I could. I don't have the energy for it. Maybe if I wouldn't need to work, I would have more time for streaming and I could get more adept at streaming more. Old man needs to go to bed. I mean, I've been awake since 8 a.m. already, despite it being my day off. And I still need to eat something. Speaking about bed, I immediately get sleepy. My sleep schedule is always a little bit like my need for sleep, need for speed, need for sleep. Bro, go eat. I mean, I ate something like a small thing before stream. I'm not really particularly hungry today. I don't know why. It's 9:30. No, it's 10:30 actually for me. No, I ate something before stream, but it's I'm not particularly hungry today. I have plenty of food. Probably eat another a quick snack or something after stream. It's something. People ask me, Lux, how do you like stay in shape with liking to eat while you still like to eat so many sweets and everything? It's simple. I just forget to eat normally. I'm pretty sure like there are many days I'm in a calorie deficit just because I forget to eat. It's probably not good. The Sugar King. That sounds weird. Sweet as can be. I definitely got a massive sweet tooth. Sweet tooth is such a funny word, by the way. I mean, I never tasted a particularly sweet tooth. I never tasted a tooth before. Fun fact: the German version of sweet tooth is actually Naschkatze, which basically translates to a snacking cat. So, oh, this cat. Oh, that pressing all the wrong buttons. I assume it's about cavities. No. Fun fact though, despite me eating so many sugar, I don't have any cavities. Because I regularly go to the dentist. Kind of funny, last time I was at the dentist because I go like every 6 months to like for a checkup. And my dentist basically just said, why are you even here? Your teeth are perfect. Du bist süß. Aww. I mean, the saying "du bist süß" has actually multiple meanings. For one, I mean, I guess it's the same for English though. Like sweet can mean like you're like literally like sweet like the flavoring, or like sweet person. It was in an anime the other day. Always get the checkups. Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. Like years ago, like this was after I moved out basically. Like I had a bit of a like health scare with basically, particularly with my teeth. Because it looked like my previous dentist was not very thorough with the checkups and everything, and I was also a bit lazy back then with brushing my teeth. And like I got it. I have a filling. Like I think I have 2 fillings in my teeth because of like, and one thing was very close to like being actually like a root canal thingy, and I just narrowly avoided it. And ever since, very particular the right word? Yeah, I'm very particular about like having my teeth checked every 6 months. Basically, every time I have like a dentist checkup, I immediately like get the next appointment 6 months later. But yeah, I was very lucky in that regard. I decided to switch dentists back then because like this particular tooth started hurting like every time I ate something or had something too hot or too cold, always ached me. And then at this point I was like, okay, time to switch dentist. And yeah, but my dentist is great. It's very great. He's a very sweet person. But yeah, let's continue with the next video and possibly last one for today. Just check. Yeah, should be fine. Yeah, should be fine. Okay, let's continue with the next one. Whale hunting was absolutely crazy. Okay, wait. Need to start the recording. So now, whale hunting was absolutely crazy from night shift. Let's go. Where?
The scream cuts through the salty air as your ship transforms into a war machine. 3 fragile boats are lowered into the waves, each packed with 6 men. You're on a hunt, and your sweaty hands clench the harpoon. An enormous shadow bursts through the waves. It rises above you and comes crashing down towards the boat. But you're not hunting for food. You're risking your life for a liquid treasure worth $200,000. Whale oil.
Yeah, this was very valuable back then. I remember that. I don't particularly know what it was used for exactly.
Nobody really knows how humans first got the idea of battling whales. Probably ancient coastal people stumbled upon whales stranded ashore. To them, these titans were rare treasure chests overflowing with meat to eat and bones to craft into tools.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Refusing to leave such fortune to chance, they paddled out and tried their luck. Towards the 8th century, whaling turns commercial. Along the Bay of Biscay, the Basques build stone watchtowers. The moment a dark shape breaks the surface, signal fires blaze and drums thunder across the coast. Men shove small boats into the waves, armed with hand-thrown harpoons. Their target is the North Atlantic right whale, an 18-meter and 90-ton gentle giant who's gloriously slow and prefers coastal waters. While most whales sink when they die, right whales stay afloat. The right whale to hunt. Their massive mouths contain hundreds of baleen plates, bristly sieves made from keratin. It's the plastic of its time, shapeable into anything from baskets to corset stays and armor.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know they used that.
Of a whale's weight, while half of it is blubber, a thick, oily shield that hides the real prize. When heated, the blubber can be rendered into precious whale oil. It's the Swiss Army knife of early industry. It lubricates machinery, waterproofs ships when mixed with tar, and helps make soap and paint. But most importantly, whale oil burns brighter and cleaner than anything else available at the time.
Interesting.
The Basques turn whaling into a finely tuned enterprise. They improve equipment, perfect the art of processing whales, and flood Europe with whale products, while other nations watch with envy. By the 17th century, the English and Dutch launched their own.
Of course, the English again.
They hire Basque consultants, and soon the secrets of whale hunting spread across European powers and into their colonies. Americans hijack whaling.
The Americans again.
New England is as harsh as its winters and stony soil. But in the Atlantic, enormous shadows glide along the coast as white whales follow their migratory routes. And the settlers know the old world pays handsomely for such treasures. Shore whaling becomes their first get-rich-quick scheme. A single good-sized whale earns each crew member as much as a land-based worker makes in 6 months.
Okay, that's a lot.
But it's unpredictable. Some years, a crew kills 100 whales. Other years drag on for months without a catch. Still, whaling becomes a valuable source of trade. Meanwhile, London is swelling into one of the world's great metropolises. And by the 1740s, 15,000 street lamps burn with colonial whale oil there. It takes half a whale per night to turn London's dark streets into a flickering sea of light.
half a whale.
Just like the Basques had learned centuries earlier, the right whales near shore become scarcer with each passing year, just as demand is exploding.
Yeah.
Around this time, a whaling boat is swept far offshore outside Nantucket. Hours drag on in uncertainty until finally the crew brings down a new kind of giant, the 18-meter, 45-ton sperm whale. In their heads, these leviathans carry nearly 2,000 litres of spermaceti, the highest quality oil on the planet. Milky gold, and so pure it burns without smoke. Sperm whales become the ultimate prize monsters. A single large sperm whale can yield oil worth around $200,000 today. That's a fortune in the 1850s, and 2 to 3 times more valuable than
that's a fortune today as well.
1 barrel can buy you almost 3 acres of farmland. Then again, outfitting a whaling expedition costs $30,000, 10 times more than an average farm. A third of voyages lose money, and some never return. But getting smashed by furious whales is what truly makes sailors' blood run cold.
I bet.
The hunt. Before we tackle the beast, let's briefly interrupt ourselves and shout out to our great sponsor, Odoo. Odoo
Okay,
is an all-in-one management software
going through.
that offers
God's
more
gonna
than
watch it.
45 applications designed to help you run your business every day.
Hello, Raiders!
From home, no sharp knives
Hello,
or danger to
hello.
life necessary. You can, for example, manage your
Blood
projects,
for the blood
create a
lily.
website, send invoices, or your
Hello, Raiders. Hello, hello. For those who don't know me, I'm LuxTaleor. I'm a wandering tale-teller, and we're watching videos today. We're currently watching a video from Night Shift, which is like a secondary channel from Kurzgesagt about whale hunting. Hello, everybody. Welcome for the raid, Lily. Hello, hello. What are you up to? We're playing Genshin Impact from what I see. Hope you had a fun stream. Thanks so much for the raid. How was your stream? Blood for the blood lilies. It's such a cool raid message. I never really played Genshin much. Like I played it a little bit when it came out, and while I love the aesthetic and everything and like the art style, it never really hooked me. It never hooked me. Thanks so much for the raid. A lot of pretty characters, so streamers go. Okay, yeah, I mean this is I think the main appeal for Genshin Impact. That is so fair. I mean, I was always more like the single player kind of. I mean, I think you can probably play a Genshin Impact more as a single player character as well. I don't know much about it. Characters look pretty. That much I can agree upon. Sadly, have to raid and run. Yeah, absolutely, Lily. Thank you so much for raid, but do like take care of yourself. Eat, drink, stretch, all the things. All the things. Very important. Great stream. Thank you so much. And thanks again for the raid. As a bi person, I panic a lot in Genshin because of all the hot people among. I mean, as a person would. I mean, I gotta admit, even as a straight guy like myself, like I have to admit, like the male characters are definitely looking attractive. I cannot deny that. I cannot deny that. The women, of course, too. But yeah, like I can totally see, like I can totally see where this is even more Resident Evil 9 Leon vibes. Oh yeah, this also went so viral recently, didn't it? Oh god. I remember that. Like, this is also something I can totally see, like, absolutely attractive. I can totally see it. I'm not, like, swooning over it like many people did. Which, no judgment, you know? No judgment, to each your own. But I can definitely, I definitely see the appeal. I definitely see it. It doesn't affect me, but I definitely see the appeal. We were sipping in Cirque stream yesterday. Oh, that's why you posted this on a Discord. I see. Oh, my Cirque. I didn't know that about him. Well, I mean, I gotta admit, like, personally, I'm always kind of immune to, like, swooning over fictional characters in a way. I don't know, I never really swooned about anybody, really. I don't know. Like, I never had, like a crush on either celebrity nor a virtual character, particularly. At least not that I could remember. Maybe I'm just weird. I love a swoon. Swoon is such a nice word, honestly. Swoon is such a nice word. It just encapsulates the feeling so well. I swoon. Okay, but let's continue with the video.
Applications are centralized on one single
you read it right into the ads of the video.
Different softwares.
This is amazing.
All the apps communicate with one another, your work just flows and you get more done. When you're ready to scale up, Odoo adapts
of course
to
we,
your needs, and you
as I was about to say, like, of course we watch the ads here.
To all available applications,
just fair.
$24.90 a month. With Odoo, you can stay flexible and focus on what you love most, your business. Just try it out. The link is in the description. We'll wait, but don't take too long. The hunt is about to begin. The planks groan as your shipmates strain at their oars, rowing straight towards the beast. The plan is simple and absolutely insane. Row close enough to touch this monster, hurl a harpoon into its flesh, and hope it doesn't take it personally. You
That's a big ask.
The creature from its scars, and it remembers you.
That's definitely the inspiration for Moby Dick. 100%.
The whale turns into pure, terrified rage. Your boat lurches forwards like you've been hitched to a steam engine, spray blinding you as you're dragged across the ocean in what whalers call a Nantucket sleigh ride. It goes on for an hour, then 4. Your knuckles are white, gripping the gunnel as waves crash over the bow. The men pray and curse. 8 hours into the hunt, your exhausted eyes lose focus.
8 hours!
The ropes lash across the deck like they're alive. Someone's leg gets caught and they're yanked into the ocean, swallowed by the waves. You hope it's quick. Sailors tell stories of other whales rushing in to defend their kin, dragging men down where lungs are crushed like tin cans. But you're still here, and the whale is finally slowing, exhausted from pulling your floating death trap across the ocean. Now comes the killing. You have to get close to stab this giant with a 3-meter lance, going for the massive lungs or heart.
Oh, God.
Blood starts flowing from the spout like a crimson geyser, but the whale is still fighting. 15 blows later, you find the mark. The whale starts swimming in tighter and tighter circles, vomiting half-digested squid, until it finally rolls over in a spreading pool of gore.
That is very graphic. I do apologize for everybody.
The floating factory. You tow the enormous carcass back to the ship, where the crew slams down chains to secure their prize. The ship creaks as the dead giant
really
bombs
cruel
in the
too.
swells beside you. Now, the bushry can begin. It takes days to process 45 tons of dead whale into liquid money. You leap across the blood-slick blubber to axe through the thick flesh of the head. Within lies the spermaceti chamber, the vault of the most precious whale oil. Then you help peel away the blubber, 20 centimeters thick and tough as leather. You cut 2-meter-wide blanket pieces, weighing a ton, and hold them up with pulleys that strain the ship's masts. Your ship lurches as you cut it free to release the weight. Next comes the rendering. You fire up the tryworks, brick furnaces built right on the wooden deck.
They have brick furnaces on the deck?
The blubber gets boiled down into oil. The smoke is so thick you can barely breathe. They say you can smell a whaling ship from 30 kilometers away.
I
Burning
bet.
tar, rotting flesh, and the stink of death. The work continues around the clock. Sharks are drawn by the bloody waste you're dumping overboard. Men slip on the greasy decks and break bones, get crushed by swinging chunks of blubber, or scalded by boiling oil. It may be one of the most gruesome jobs in existence. The stench, the blood, the endless toil, it wears you down fast. Most who sign on quickly regret it.
I
Nearly a
bet.
third end up deserting. You are holding on to the dream of coming home rich, but the odds aren't great.
I mean, seeing how much money this is for one person, like I see why people have signed up, but
dozens of barrels of the finest oil on Earth. By the 1850s, whaling has become the 5th biggest industry in the US, with 700 whaling ships, 3/4 of the world's fleet, employing 70,000 people.
Wow.
In 1853 alone, American whalers kill over 8,000 whales, making 360,000 barrels of oil and almost $500 million in today's dollars. Voyages grow longer and months turn into years as ships push into the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Each voyage
Give me the
demands
Indian.
bigger investments, and whaling turns into a venture capital industry. Crews work for shares instead of wages, while forced to buy overpriced supplies on credit. Many come home in debt, and a lucky few rise through the ranks. It's the American dream, they say, but it feels like an illusion. The real
I'm not gonna
money flows
comment on
upwards
that
to
saying no.
shipowners and merchants.
That's too real.
Fishing villages turn into global commercial hubs. In New England, the port of New Bedford rises as one of the richest towns in America. Whaling is unusually diverse for its time, but deeply exploitative. Much of the labor comes from Native Americans and black sailors. Native communities become dependent on English goods, while crews of color are pushed into the hardest and lowest paying work. This pattern of inequality still echoes today. The blood of whales helps fuel the rise of American industrial power. The machine age of killing. Until in
Of the
1859,
industrialization,
a
I assume.
breakthrough changes everything. Steam-powered rigs start commercially pumping petroleum. Suddenly, kerosene, lamp oil refined from crude oil, is cheap and seemingly limitless.
And
Over the following
not as
decades,
risky.
the whaling industry faces dramatic changes. Nantucket, once the heart of global whaling, sees its last ship limp home in 1870. The age of sail is ending. The age of engine has begun. And it's ushered in by blood. In the 18th and 19th centuries, 300,000 sperm whales alone were slaughtered. And they still can't catch a break. Although kerosene conquered lighting, whale oil is still one of the best lubricants on Earth. Never
Really?
freezes, spoils, or quits. The machinery powering industrialization needs it, so ironically, petroleum soon increases demand for whale oil. Norwegians seize the opportunity with cheaper labor and new technology. They set up whaling stations on islands at the edge of Antarctica. Hand-thrown spears are gone, and now explosive-tipped harpoons fire from steam-powered catcher boats for instant kills. The fast ships can chase down even blue whales, the largest animals that ever lived. Normally, most dead whales sink, but now air compressors pump them full of gas, so even the biggest ones float like massive buoys.
Oh god.
No whale is safe anymore.
I mean, technology-wise,
In the arms race leading
insane,
up to World
but
War I, whale oil is also used to produce explosives. But the true carnage comes after World War II, when Japan and the Soviet Union also joined the slaughter. They call it the Whaling Olympics. The same industrial might that once built tanks and bombers now builds factory ships. The largest one is 210 meters long, capable of processing dozens of whales in a day. In 1964, 82,000 whales are reported killed, the largest animal slaughter by tons in human history.
oh my god.
The war we almost won. The ocean couldn't sustain this mechanized assault. Sperm whales fall from around 1.5 million to 800,000, and the even larger fin whales from almost 800,000 to 100,000. Blue whale populations, which had numbered around 340,000 before industrial whaling, collapsed by 98% to less than 5,000. It isn't until
Oh my
1975 that the reality of industrial whaling hits the global spotlight. In the North Pacific, environmental activists steer tiny inflatable boats straight between Soviet whaling ships and their targets. The images of fragile human bodies standing in the path of steel harpoons spread like wildfire. Overnight, the public turns against the commercial slaughter. Across America and Europe, people support a new cause: save the whales. Finally, the International Whaling Commission votes for a global moratorium on commercial whaling. Only Norway, Iceland and Japan never signed the global ban that takes effect in 1986, basically ending 400 years of industrial whale hunting. It's a different world now, and looking back, the story of whaling seems bloody and barbaric.
Oh yeah.
But it also lit homes, powered machines, and built the scaffolding of modernity. A staggering and also concerning display of what humanity is capable of. The power to reshape the world, with progress and destruction always side by side.
Listen, okay, so like my point of it is like, yes, it is absolutely true, and especially in the later times, unbelievable. If it were to be done in let's call it a normal scale, as brutal as it is, it would probably not be as harmful. But like the commercial level is what like really hit the point home that this needs to stop.
The king.
The king. The king. The king. We're not caring about the king right now. But yeah. Commercial, like, I can only, especially like the early whale hunters, like how insane this is. Unbelievable. But yeah, still an amazing video, and did not know much about this. Like, I knew like whale oil was like important, but like the processes and everything, as brutal as it is, quite fascinating to like see all those things. But yeah, that was the history of whaling. So let me post the link for everybody who wants to watch the video themselves. Give the original creator, of course, all the credit. It's not my like my work here. This is very important. I mean, God, I wish I could create stuff like this on my own, or could like manage the manage to get something done or coordinate something like this. It's insane, research-wise, art-wise, everything. I think most of history has decent amount of sadness on. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Like, I cannot deny that. Recently, or what was recently, I think it was today even, I saw like a clip about the original story of Bambi. Like the deer Bambi of the Disney movie. And the original story is way more sad and way more tragic. It's insane. Like, generally our history is filled with those kinds of things. But we should not forget that this is not the entire history. There are good things happening. There have always like nice and fun things happened. The tragic things, the sad things are just the things that are most prevalent in our mind. And get like retold more often. So there's always something I don't want to say something nice to it, but there are nice, wholesome moments in history. Never forget that. Even in today's history, it's like something, no matter how crazy the world is, no matter at which time, if it's our time right now, the past or the future, there will always be positive things. After every storm follows sunshine, after all. It's a bit of a cliche saying, but it is true. It's absolutely true. I never lose hope. It's actually a fun fact for anybody wondering why I started streaming specifically. I mean, for one, I just like streaming. It's fun. I like yapping to people. But one of the things, in my opinion, for me, is also the fact that it is important to have like an outlet, not just for me, but also for others, which I can hopefully provide most of the time, to like forget about the worries of the world for a little bit. Not forget about them completely, but it's important to have a break every now and then. I've seen so many people who are so downtrodden and so stressed out and anxious because they're constantly being bombarded with negative news, negative things, negative headlines, whatever. And while I, or like most content creators or whatever, cannot make those go away, those things, but what I can offer at least is a place to calm down a little bit, forget it just for a little bit, so your brain can reset again and it doesn't feel so daunting anymore. That's like one of my things why I like streaming, or why I want to continue to streaming. Just entertain people. Make them forget about the bad things for a little bit, so they can get the strength back, feel better again, hopefully, or at least less bad. Here's to another 30 streams. I mean, there will be a lot more than 30 streams on my end. So ads are starting in about a minute. Everybody, little heads up. But I don't plan on like stopping streaming anytime soon. It's way too much fun. I like doing it. And it's honestly, like, for me, it's something I honestly enjoy more than I thought I would. Or like that I have more fun than I thought I would. I do remember when I was starting out as like with my preparations, becoming a VTuber and everything. You have to think about, when I started out, I knew no one basically, and I started from absolute zero in a way. From the point of I purposefully told no one I knew that I started streaming, and this was in a way very important for me. For the one side, or like one of the main things here for me was to like prove to myself in a way that I can like achieve something on my own, and like basically build something from nothing. And on the other thing is like there's a bit of like, let's call it a burden, for lack of a better word, from like private life and from previous streaming endeavors I streamed before, way before. I talked about this in the past already. Which I just did absolutely not want to risk carrying over. So I kept it all to myself. And now here we are, about almost 1.5 years later, sitting at almost 320 followers, which is about 300 more than I expected I would have. One of my biggest worries was actually that like stream and no one. Higher streams, nobody subs by. Which sometimes, honestly, I do have those thoughts again that things like this could happen. But ultimately I know this is just like negative thoughts that I had no stream so far where nobody showed up, which I'm eternally grateful for. I wish I'd found you sooner. No, that's so sweet. That is so sweet. I'm so glad for everybody here in chat, all my friends, that they either have found me or I have found them. And I love doing this. Sometimes I do feel a little bit down still. That's normal. Sometimes I feel like I don't do enough, but that's normal. That's just my chronic imposter syndrome speaking to me. Always have at least one, and it's me. Oh, that's so incredibly sweet. Thank you, PP. But I mean, I'm glad that you and everybody else who boo, go away, imposter syndrome. I mean, I'm so incredibly glad for you, for like everybody who's in Lurk right now. Maybe I know that like many people have me on in the background. Hello Lurk people. You are greeted here. The people like just have me even just as a background noise or actively participating or watching or whatever. It really means a lot to me. I know it's really mushy and I'm like, sappy tale teller again. It's been a while after all. It's fine. I found you when I needed. To be honest though, I also found you when I needed you, so I'm also super grateful. Now you're making me blush. But because this is exactly like something I want to give to people, and I'm glad to be able to achieve this for even just one person. I mean, yes, it like sometimes I think about that it would be nice to have like an even bigger audience and more people, and that I could reach out to more people and help more. But maybe at one point, maybe not. Either way, I can definitely say I've done something right. I mean, seeing how many friends I made along in those only 1.5 years, that alone means I've definitely done something right. Me and Thailand 10 times. Recently I've been thinking of like trying to do a bit more for streams again. It's also like why I wanted to record those things for reacts. Because I want to try to get like my YouTube a little bit going more. To maybe get a few more people on board. Would be nice to like get a bit more visibility. Ultimately, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just doing things like best thing I know, best thing I can think of, without like doing things I don't want to do, obviously. Because this is always something extremely important to me. Like I don't want, excuse me, because I see people that are like, yeah, do this and that to become famous on YouTube or Twitch or whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, sure I could do that. I could also like look into like generating AI slop and like spamming the internet with it as well. I could do that. I could probably generate money with it if I wanted to. But I have something called morals. And like, what good is content if like it's not something you actually stand behind? That's why I have like, I don't really watch that many bigger content creators, because with some of them I feel like they are not that genuine. Like for example, what you will never catch me watch on my own free will is probably a Mr. Beast video. I don't like the guy. He comes off as so incredibly like arrogant and like basically makes this whole like an industry, like it's just too commercial. That's what I'm trying to say. While it would be nice to earn money from it, enough to live from it, I don't need to like do weird things I'm not proud of. If my own sets of morals. Inside in Lux's brain. I do remember when I started out, I was like, if I could have like only like 1 or 2 people in chat, I'd be happy. And I am happy. Oh, also, what reminds me, I turn on all the thingies again. Sorry, I'm fidgeting around with stuff. We just knocked it on the table real hard. Thanks for the hydrate. But yeah, streaming is definitely an amazing journey for me. And I'm glad I convinced myself to actually do it, because like before I started streaming, like VTubing specifically, like basically a year prior to me starting, like I always thought to myself, like, it would be interesting, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. And then like I totally casually like started like looking up a few things, like hypothetically, if I were to start, what do I need? Like I already, due to like prior stuff I already knew about, like how streaming worked, how to set up OBS, how to edit videos even, like I've done this all before, like I know the basics of those things. Or like picture editing, like making thumbnails for like videos. I already knew all this stuff like in a basic level. So I already had like the technological stuff. I even had like my own mic, which I actually got a new one for VTubing specifically, because my old one was like 10 years old and sounded like absolute garbage. And then I started researching like where to get models, where to get a better mic, how to set up things better, how to set up VTube Studio, how does this work, how does that work, and that, and this, and that, and that. And even back then when I started out, like in the end of 2024. I don't know why this was such a struggle to say. Even back then I realized how green behind the ears I basically was. Like I did not know anything about VGen. I did not know anything about like setting up redeems, or I don't know where to get stuff, whatever, how to meet people. Like basically what I did, this is actually kind of funny. The way I got to meet the first people in the VTubing community was I created my Blue Sky account, and I very soon, like I started following a few different like VTubers and everything, and very soon I got art bots writing me, like those scam art bots are like, oh, you're interested in this and this thing and whatnot and blah 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 blah. And there was this one art bot where or like this one scam, I'm not sure if it was a bot or not a human being that's just scummy, that I basically like, I immediately noticed that this was just someone trying to sell me crap, stolen crap specifically. And I just like, feigned interest and everything, and like wasted the time a little bit. And before I revealed me not being an ignorant idiot, I looked at who followed this person back, and saw a couple other VTubers that followed him back, and then basically wrote those VTubers saying, hey, you guys, this is a scammer, be aware of that. And that's basically how I got like to know the first people in the VTube community. Eventually I found someone like Panda, for example, who had like a posting for D&D one-shot, through which I met many other people as well. Good guy, Lux. I mean, maybe for me it's common to do something like this, since I work in in my day job, I work in an industry where I have to deal with scammers a lot, and they are for me the absolute garbage of human society. This is like something I very much like. Yeah, the scammers can suck an egg, and I'm gonna warn people about it because I don't want anybody to like fall victim to stuff like that. I do wonder what kind of fucking egg scammers. I do always wonder like what goes on in those people's heads for like, yeah, let's go scam people out of their money. Because apparently I cannot like be a decent human being and earn money in a normal way. It's just, I mean, listen here. I don't like going to work either. I would rather stream the entire day. Trust me. But unfortunately, that's not how life works. Yet. Maybe at one point. Go follow my channel and subscribe. Yeah, some of them are dragged in through desperation, but those are not usually the people that initiated. It's about the people that initiated. I'm aware there are like there are actual farms and everything where people get tricked into like joining those things to perform scams. Those exist, but I'm talking about the people who think up about this stuff. Those are the people that I have an issue with. I don't know. Some people are just bad people, Lux. Yeah, I know. I'm just always a person who tries to like understand reasons for why those things are like they are, and like sometimes go like even into like psychological explanations and whatnot. I know it's pointless in the vast majority of cases, and it's honestly just to satiate my own curiosity at this point. But yeah. And as I talk about it, somehow some scam bot appears again instantly banned. The timing! Unbelievable timing! I love it. Oh, that could not have been better timed. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. You guys probably didn't even see it, just like, oh god. What the heck? What are the odds during the entire stream? I mean, I have to say, like, the scam bots, at least on my end, got... I mean, I think last stream at the end we had one. But the streams before that, we didn't have that many, actually. Like, it's been a while. They're starting back up again, I feel like. Spring has arrived. The scammers are here again. I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel like it from like January to March. I don't know. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today though, because I probably should eat something again. Reckon. Tomorrow we're gonna continue with Skyward Sword, aka Lux is struggling with the motion controls. Unfortunately, no Stardew Valley this week because Kelly's on a big road trip, and I heard it can be a bit hard playing Stardew Valley and streaming while driving a car. I heard, you know, rumors. But yeah, let's look for someone to raid into. Who do we have? Wait, need to. Who is online right now? So we raided Nova yesterday. We could raid Dane. We could raid. You know who we gonna raid? Is she still? Is she? We gonna raid a friend of mine who hasn't streamed in quite some time. Currently having a riding stream, so something very calming, very fitting for a telltale as myself. We're gonna raid the dear Faye Saley. Hasn't streamed in quite some time. So it's the second stream already. Get food and rest up. I plan to. And you all also make sure to get all your snack, drink, and stretching needs met. And I hopefully see you all on tomorrow's stream when you have the time. Same time as usual, 7 p.m. Central European time. It's like kind of my default time for most streams, in case you haven't noticed. Anyway, I hope to see you all next time. And until then, bye bye.